So that's why I was saying earlier that we have been able to even win the Lakon Award.
Yeah, which is very big, especially for the country.
Yes,
because it's
so
a national sort of system.
Exactly.
COVID-19 has tested our hope. COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television.
COVID was not expected by many people early last year, because I think when it was happening in the Western world, everyone, probably distanced themselves.
Yeah, it was a Chinese problem.
Exactly. Some people would easily say that God was probably punishing those guys in Europe and the Western world generally. But the situation changed rapidly, and it came down to our doorsteps here. It came down to Africa, it came down to Uganda, and we all know what happened.
It's You and the Law here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. You and the Law is simply what it says, You and the Law. It's a program that seeks to explain the law to people in this country, demystify the different concepts of the law, make people understand what the law is, how it affects their lives, and really to ensure that we keep ourselves on the safe side of the law. Because as you all know, ignorance of the law has never been and will never be a defense. So whether you're a teacher, whether you're a border rider, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a farmer, anything that you could be in your life, the law affects every aspect of our lives. So that's why we have this program to basically enable people to understand the law in its different formations and how it impacts on our lives. Today, we have a very interesting guest with us who will be helping us understand a couple of things about this program and the ideas that we are flaunting for you, the viewers of House of Talent Television. Our guest is a very outstanding and fairly young lawyer. He's a law lecturer. He's practiced law for the last 8+ years. He's taught law in different universities. He's been in leadership in this country, and he's best suited to steer this conversation today. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the one and only Emmanuel Elau. Emma, you're welcome to You and the Law.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the nice introduction.
In House of Talent, we always have to do the fist bump and we spread the love. Yeah, it's just our way of trying to survive in these COVID times, because we're told that we can't be touching ourselves and stuff like that. Yes. So Emma, I know that you do so many things in this country. You teach law, you practice law, you run a startup. So I thought perhaps we could start by having a sneak peek into the work that you do, as a lawyer, as an innovator, just to set the ball rolling for us.
Yes. Thank you so much. Well, I do all the things that you have mentioned.
Yeah.
Been a lawyer for quite a while now, since 2014. Oh. So quite knowledgeable about the law now.
You're no longer a young lawyer?
No longer a young lawyer. I'm off that bracket.
Okay.
But of course, always willing to learn and contribute to the society in different ways, like you've stated. And so that includes also as part of the pro bono work, to uplift people's understanding of the law, teach them what the law is, and this has been appreciated, in different quarters in this country, For example, last year, our organization, that is Legal Hub Uganda, won this LACON award. LACON, that's the Legal Aid Innovations Conference.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're the best, that was in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the work is much appreciated now.
You mentioned Legal Hub. I thought maybe you could spend a little bit of time to, understand, explain to us what Legal Hub is all about. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Legal Hub Uganda is a non-governmental organization. Okay. This organization was conceived as an idea around 2017 and registered as a company limited by guarantee. And we went on to register as a non-governmental organization in 2019. So since then, we have been contributing to this country in different ways, using the radios, visiting schools, going into the community in different ways. We have, for example, utilized radio stations in this country, several of them, and I believe people across this country have heard about Legal Hub Uganda and what we have been doing.
Yeah, I know that you also have a little bit of interest in innovations as an organization. Could you sort of try to shine a light on a couple of innovations that Legal Hub has been pushing across the country?
Yes, thank you. So one of our biggest innovations, to date has been the legal podcast. Yeah. So if you're very common on Facebook, on different platforms, you're able to see that we're doing a legal podcast. I believe we're the pioneer podcasters in this country, at least in the legal sense. Okay. So this podcast has been recognized by The Hill. The Hill is the Hague Institute, for innovations of law.
Yes,
So we competed, and we came out as the best innovators in 2019. Okay. And as a result, we also represented Uganda. We're among the 3 that represented Uganda at The Hague. That's in the Netherlands.
Very important milestone that you're raising.
Exactly. So we're able to compete with the world, to showcase the world what we are all about, and things like that. And of course, we have kept the podcast running with support from different quarters of this world. So that's why I was saying earlier that we have been able to even win the LACON award.
Yeah, which is very big, especially for the country.
Yes,
because it's
so
a national sort of system.
Exactly, and of course, every day we continue to innovate ways that we can reach, different people in this country. And our major interest is the last mile in this country. Yeah. And that's what keeps us, moving forward to ensure that the last person in this country understands the law.
Until we take the law to the last mile.
Exactly.
So that brings me sort of to this question around then you and the law, because clearly it seems to be a contribution to your mandate of taking to the law to the last mile.
Yes.
So you and the law, as a program that we're designing in partnership with the House of Talent Television, could you just sort of give us an idea what it's all about?
Yes, thank you. So again, because of our innovativeness, right? We have been able to be recognized by different people. And recently, we were one of the winners, under the I4C challenge. That's Innovation for Change, So under that project, one of the things that we thought of was to bring the law to the TV audience, in this country. And again, I believe this is also pioneering in different ways, because other people simply discuss the law from the surface, So we want to unpack the law, to the TV audience. Because I believe the radio will be focusing more on the people in the last mile, But
the TV audience is a bit.
So if you come to Kampala, you realize that the majority of the people only listen to the radio in the morning when they're driving to work, and the evening when they're driving back home. And at that point, someone is a bit anxious, going to work and coming back. So they basically want to listen to music, So we want to see how we can take this television to their offices, to their homes, at their own convenience, So that's why this project comes up, And so we have designed a number of projects, a number of topics that we want to handle under this. So there'll be a COVID edition, But generally, we'll be discussing other aspects of the law, like you had rightly introduced.
Yeah. So I thought perhaps, I know you've sort of given us a sneak peek into the future, but I thought we could maybe start by revisiting, you mentioned COVID.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, why is it important to actually have a conversation around, COVID and the law? Because this is you and the law, and then suddenly you're talking about, COVID. Some because, COVID is a medical issue. Why are we discussing it in you and the law? You should be telling us about theft, you should be telling us about murder and things like that. So could you sort of try to give us that intersection?
Yes. Now, that's a good question. First of all, COVID was not expected by many people early last year, because I think when it was happening in the Western world, everyone, probably distanced themselves.
Yeah, it was a Chinese problem.
Exactly. Some people would easily say that God was probably punishing those guys in Europe and the Western world generally,
Yeah.
But the situation changed rapidly, and it came down to our doorsteps here. It came down to Africa, it came down to Uganda, and we all know what happened, The country was closed down. Among the first times that the president had addressed the country, he reached a point where he closed the land, air, and all the borders, basically, in this country.
So basically,
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're locked up. You couldn't
no
go out.
No entrance, no exit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And alongside that, they curtailed our movement at some point. They said, stay home, Workplaces were closed, People were staying home. I know that different kinds of problems occurred, Husbands and wives were staying indoors for 24 hours. So you can expect that there'll be domestic violence.
I would expect them to bond.
On the contrary, no. Because then you're seeing, you're confined to this house for 24 hours.
Yeah.
You're looking at each other. At least when you're working, you're able to go and cool off in case of any disagreements. So during that COVID period, and we're still of course in that period, there was a lot of domestic violence that was realized, for example. And that is a legal issue. People had mental issues. That was a legal issue in some ways. Children stayed at home. And up to now as we speak, children are still at home. And so that means that their rights to, to study, to education, which of course has its own technicalities, but that children are still at home and they are losing out so many months and years.
Then on Sundays and Fridays, people can't go to...
You can't go to church or to the mosque. That's also a legal issue, In the first lockdown in 2020, government had to step in and provide food, because people were no longer working. A majority of our people, especially here in Kampala, they live hand to mouth. So these people go to town, they work the money, go home with a kavera. Those kaveras were no longer coming, A
kavera is a polythene bag, just
exactly.
in case some viewers may not understand. Yeah.
Yes. So that means that the right to, to food, was affected. You couldn't move. Your right to movement is affected. The government came up with regulations saying that, for example, you can't spit in public, And indeed, those regulations are still here. If you spit in public, you're committing an offense,
I wonder how many people know that.
Exactly. So COVID has impacted life in ways that we didn't imagine,
Basically, there's been a close fusion between COVID and the law.
Exactly. And it appears this situation is not likely to change even after we recover from the pandemic. Because in some places you've heard them talking about COVID passports,
Oh, yeah.
In Europe, in South Africa, yesterday I was seeing they're trying to introduce a COVID passport. So that means if you want to go to the market, you should show that you've been vaccinated, So what is the implication of that on your daily life?
We'll pick on from there because clearly I see that you've tried to marry, COVID-19 and the law. So we'll pick on from there after the short break. Stay right here. COVID-19 came and disorganized our economy, brought our health system to its knees, and along the way, affected our rights significantly. This is You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host.
When it comes to the law, we basically live the law, on a day-to-day basis, Whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law, because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl, or you might be with another person's wife. All the things are the law.
If you're a human being, you have rights. Those rights are called human rights. They are examples: the right to health, the right to freedom from torture, that underscores human dignity, freedom from slavery. You're not supposed to be someone's slave.
If you look at our penal code, it sets out another marriage laws. It sets out the persons who can marry and those who cannot marry, right? For example, you can't marry your close relatives. You know, if you did, you'd be committing a crime.
The state is not supposed to tell you who to worship, how to worship, how many times a day. No, you have a right to work. A right to work. You have freedom of association.
Cohabitation for whatever period of time does not make you husband and wife, right? And that is why we emphasize to people that when the relationship is still hot, you know, you must ensure that you do what? Marry.
Yes.
You know?
For human rights to be respected, protected, and fulfilled, relevant government programs must actually work. Medicine should reach hospitals, oxygen should be there, health workers should have gloves, teachers should be present. Now they are mostly absent, and they have left the profession, a good number of them. They are into trading. So things must work. If things don't work, human rights are not respected, are not protected, and are not fulfilled.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television.
It's You and the Law here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. Today in studio, we hosting Mr. Emmanuel Elau, co-founder at Legal Hub Uganda. He's a practicing lawyer and a law lecturer. Basically to discuss and explain to us this whole show that we're premiering here, You and the Law, specifically the COVID edition. Before we went for a break, Emma was explaining to us how the law is married into the whole COVID-19 pandemic and the different interventions that have been put in place. I thought, Emma, we could pick on from there. So before the break, you sort of tried to make that explanation. So could you kindly, in a more sort of detailed manner, highlight the various human rights that you think have been affected by COVID-19? Yeah.
Well, thank you. There have been different rights that have been affected. We're talking about the right to education. We're talking about the right of movement. We're talking about the right to health, which has also been highlighted because of our, infrastructure.
Yeah, our preparedness for...
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we have also seen the right to life, to an extent, also affected. People's rights to worship, people's rights to, to marry at some point, because when it was suspended.
Yeah, he couldn't do a ceremony.
Yes, he couldn't do much, I think the people's rights also to earn a living, generally, which could be connected with the right to own property. It could be, one could make an argument that has also been affected.
Economic rights that
economic rights,
severely
yes.
affected.
Exactly.
So looking at the COVID edition of You and the Law that we're talking about today, what are the kind of topics that people should expect, the viewers of House of Talent Television should expect to be discussed on this show?
Okay, thank you. So, because of this whole idea, we have put together a couple of topics, 12 of them, in particular for purposes of this particular COVID edition.
So you just selected only 12?
12 topics,
okay,
particularly. So those topics are going to touch on the law and human rights in Uganda. So we'll basically have a guest telling us about the different laws, the different rights that have been affected, because we're talking about human rights.
Yeah, sort of a broader picture.
A broader discussion. So you can expect a very interesting discussion around that. Two, we'll be talking about COVID-19 and access to justice in Uganda, because we know already that even without COVID, a great majority of people in this country were even struggling to access justice, and this is no news, You've heard of people talking about case backlog, access to courts of law, access to lawyers, If you looked at the infrastructure in this country in terms of legal aid, I mean, it's a bit poor, Everybody looks at Law Society, but Law Society only has 22 legal aid clinics across this country. But how many districts do we have?
100 and something.
Exactly. So even before Corona, there was a problem. But now we want to discuss post-Corona. What exactly
in Corona.
In Corona, actually.
Yes, yeah.
What exactly is going on?
I think that's interesting, actually, even noting the fact that courts were actually closed as well during the lockdown. And I remember, I think lawyers were not essential workers.
No, they were not.
Yeah, so with all the fancy suits, at a certain point, a wheelbarrow pusher was more important than you.
We were relegated to another, Of course, there was this whole thing that lawyers at some point were made essential. But you see, it was technical because it was only a fee. You had to apply for a permit.
Yeah.
Each time you had a case. Yeah. But remember, if your client is arrested, because sometimes these things are not planned, considering how police operates. If your client is arrested, you have to apply for a permit that could take you a day or two. And then the law, on the other hand, says that
48 hours.
48 hours, and then your client as well is entitled to see a lawyer upon arrest. So that also was affecting.
So imagine a lawyer running all the way from Nigeria to Chira Road Police.
Exactly.
Because they don't have a permit. Okay, any other sort of areas of discussion that we'll focus on?
So another interesting topic is COVID-19, gender, and women's rights. There have been a lot of gender issues.
That sounds interesting already,
Exactly. There have been a lot of gender issues in this country as a result of this COVID. Domestic violence, women, beaten, and all sorts of things. And of course, we're not biasing this only to women. Of course, we're aware that there's some men who may have also fallen
victim.
Only that, of course, that the men fear to come out. So it will be a bit of a general discussion, though of course with some bit of focus on women specifically. Another topic of interest is COVID-19 property and land rights, because as you're aware, while everyone else was busy, with Corona things, some people were also busy scheming ways to evict them from their land, because courts were suspended, if a guy wants to take over your land or to break down your house, you have no recourse to a court of law.
Interestingly, there was actually a directive issued by the Ministry of Lands suspending any forms of evictions and stuff like that in that period.
Yes.
But I think this being Uganda, some people were able to,
of course,
to bypass.
So you find that whereas they put out all the things, sometimes they're well-intentioned, that we do not want people to be evicted. But there'll be someone out there, who can be able to...
Who can bypass.
Imagine if they can demolish a church in this country, so you can only imagine what they can't do when...
the country is locked down.
When the country is locked down and there's just a piece of paper saying that don't evict people, So that's one such topic. And then also we have COVID-19 and its impact on employment and labor rights in Uganda. This is a very serious discussion. We have had people lose jobs. We have had people with reduced salaries.
Salary cuts.
Salary cuts. The teachers are out there. They don't have jobs. Or even when they maintain their jobs on paper, the employers are telling them we can't pay you because children are at home.
Perhaps the other angle is that also we've had businesses closed down.
Businesses are also closing down.
Because it's always tempting to look at the employees only and forget that the employers are struggling.
Exactly. So we'll be delving into the labor issues in this country. And then also, we'll be looking at the right to food, COVID-19, and the right to food.
Yes. That's an interesting one, because I remember in the first lockdown, people were like, I'd rather die of COVID than die of hunger in my house.
Yeah.
So, tell us about the right to food.
Yeah, so that topic will also be discussed. As we all know, it's one of the rights which is internationally recognized.
Yeah.
So we need to delve and try to understand what that right entails, you know. Does it mean that the government should bring food and put on your table, you know? Or government should create a conducive environment for you to be able to get food, you know? Like you've always heard Paul saying that someone should be taught how to fish instead of being given what? Fish.
The only danger here is that the fish pond was closed because most of the earning places, you know, were shut down. But I think it will be an interesting discussion here to see, honestly, you know, like how this has been affected by COVID-19.
Exactly. Now, the other topic of discussion is going to be on civil liberties.
Yeah.
You know, in this country.
Very big issue.
Very, very interesting as well, because we need to know whether you still have a right to worship, you know. Well, at least you can worship via television or via radios. Well, maybe some people are comfortable with that, but I'm sure a number of people are also uncomfortable with it.
I know the Christians believe in fellowship, in fellowshipping together. So
exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a case which has been filed at the Constitutional Court. You know, a group of pastors thinks that the continued locking of churches is unconstitutional, so they have gone to court. So that's one of the things, among other civil liberties, that we'll be talking about.
And again, talking about civil liberties, you know, these freedoms of expression and everything. Again, we've been struggling with this even before COVID.
Exactly.
So I think it will be interesting to see how COVID has, you know, either worsened or made the situation better.
Exactly, and you know, it got a bit confused with the politics at some stage.
Yeah, true.
And as you're aware, Facebook is still blocked in this country.
In this country, yeah.
And I don't think, I expect that you're not on Facebook.
And I think that sort of there's another interesting angle on the issue around civic space. Because I think we've also seen government of late, you know, taking interest in organizations that are doing work, you know, civil liberties. And I don't know if we can pull a connection between that and, and COVID-19.
Yes, so I believe that discussion is going to come up as well when that particular topic comes up.
Okay.
Yes. The other topic of interest is COVID-19 and the rights to health of people in this country.
I think that should be the first, actually. But okay, tell us about that,
Again, you've seen there's been a bit of litigation around these issues in the past, even before COVID.
Yeah, we saw people paying millions, hundreds of millions, you know, because you have a patient here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want 5 million, you know, from you, you know, for you to be in ICU for a day. You know, how many people are going to be able to afford that, you know? And what is government doing, you know, to ensure that people should not be paying this much, you know? So we'll be discussing that topic as well.
I think that's interesting because, again, there have been arguments that, you know, there's been a lot of focus on COVID-19 and we're forgetting that malaria is still, you know, a top killer disease where people are dealing with maternal health issues amidst COVID, and yet the government seems to be putting a lot of emphasis on COVID and neglecting the other issues we have in the country. Okay, this is another time, you know, to go for a break. You're watching You and the Law here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, and today we're hosting Advocate Emmanuel Lau to sort of unpack for us the COVID edition that we've been preparing for you in partnership with Legal Hub Uganda. So let's go for a break. We'll be right back. It's You and the Law here on House of Talent Television. Welcome. My name is Jonathan Ochom, and we're having Mr. Emmanuel Lau today, an advocate and law lecturer, to explain to us You and the Law and the intersection with COVID-19 in Uganda, which is a sort of a specific edition that House of Talent Television is going to be producing. So before we went for a break, you were highlighting on the the topics that we're going to be discussing in this program. So I don't know
Yes.
if you still have some more to...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the other topic we'll be discussing is going to be COVID-19 and disability rights in Uganda.
Yeah.
Because you'll understand that the disabled people have also suffered in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, I will, on a lighter note, I will highlight one particular issue. You know, when the president started giving those speeches of his, you know,
Or the weekly
updates,
yeah.
kind of. So what happens is, at first there wasn't an interpreter. I don't know whether there is one now, you know.
It's been a while. So yeah.
Yes, so there was a complaint that even the president's speeches were, you know,
There was no sign language.
They were leaving those guys behind because so the president is speaking, but they're not getting the information that he's saying. But I think there were some arrangements at some point
Later
to have
on.
a sign language.
I think the TV stations managed to sort of have an interpreter.
Yeah. So even with or without, even before COVID, you know, disabled people already facing challenges in terms of accessing so many other rights that they deserve in this country.
Yeah.
So COVID has only spoiled the situation. So we expect that that discussion is going to be topical as well, delving deeper into the matters to do with their rights. Yeah. The other issue of interest is COVID-19 and children's rights in Uganda.
Yeah.
Because as you're aware, children have also borne the brunt of this, of this situation.
Yeah.
Talk about domestic violence. Talk about the right to go to school.
I think when the police report, one of the reports showed an increase in defilement cases.
Defilement cases, you know, children are getting married off, you know, at a terrific speed, and a majority of them may never actually go back to school.
Yeah.
You know, issues to do with child labor have also come in because now parents have said, you're sitting at home, please come and work for us. So we need to understand that what are the rights of a child in the context
of pandemic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now the other issue is COVID-19 and the rule of law in Uganda.
Yeah.
The rule of law, very, very important, you know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when the lockdown was announced, they unleashed LDUs onto the streets. And we all know
LDUs are the local defense unit. It's
Yes.
a paramilitary outfit
Exactly.
in the country. Yeah.
So I believe everyone has an experience, one way or the other. Either you've been a victim, or your relatives have been victims, you know, or a neighbor somewhere.
No, I think the media did a good job, highlighting,
Yes.
them chasing traders from downtown Kampala.
Yes.
And yeah.
So people have in different ways interacted with the LDUs. In fact, now it is a joke in the public that if you delay somewhere and curfew gets you, LDUs will teach you
We'll teach you
what time curfew ends.
Yeah,
you know?
but I think the other interesting angle, perhaps talking about rule of law, there's been a lot of legislation around COVID.
Yes.
So I think it would be sort of interesting to see how the various laws that have been put in place are also going to have affected our rights as,
Yes, exactly. And also the process that those laws took to come into force.
Yes.
Because you could see the president going on national television, and coming up with all these kind of laws or rules or regulations of sorts.
Yeah.
But with no legal backing. So you'd wake up the following that now the Minister of Health, who is mandated anyway, has come up with a statutory instrument. So those issues also need to be...
One of the, I think, for me, the most interesting thing was seeing if you interact with a police officer, they will tell you they were enforcing the presidential directives.
Exactly.
And some of us used to sort of tease them and say, you don't enforce that. There should be law. Yes, I think, very interesting area. Yeah.
Yeah, so that issue will be discussed ably. Yeah. And then the last issue of interest is COVID-19 and education in Uganda. That will be the last topic. But as you know, it's also a very, very important area because as we speak today, children are still at home. You have kids now who are 8 years, probably 7, but they have not stepped in nursery school yet.
They've started P1 for 3 years.
For 3 years, You have people who have been in campus for probably 2 to 3 years, who should have finished, So we need to be also discussing those issues to do with the education. But of course, again, when we talk about education, we need to understand it from the context of the law. Yeah. Because it is not an absolute right. It can only be enforced up to a certain age. Yeah. If you're above 18, for example, can you demand to study from your parents? So all those are things that will be discussed when we get into that topic. So basically those are the topics.
I think I like the education bit, especially when you mention the fact that, children were left at home, but then the whole inequality in the education system is also going, perhaps something that needs to be exposed, because then I know there are those that were studying online.
Yes.
But I imagine my people in Bukedia, clearly, I think online is not even an option to, you know, to explore.
Yeah.
So it will be a good angle to also spin it from, you know, that, from a rights, you know, angle.
Exactly.
Okay, so Emma, this seems to be like a well, you know, thought out, you know, package. I know there are so many human rights issues that COVID-19 raises, perhaps beyond even the 12 topics that you've highlighted here. In future, perhaps we'll get another chance to have a more detailed explanation on the other angles of COVID-19. So, talking about the COVID edition of You and the Law and the interesting topics you've highlighted. So who basically, you don't have to like drop the names, but I'm just wondering, so who are the guys going to be discussing this? Because clearly it seems to be a, sort of a rich, you clearly need a rich lineup of people to able to explore this. What have you, you know, done about this?
Exactly. So we're sort of putting up a team of different experts in the different areas of the law, you know. So some of them, you might know their faces, you know, some of them might be people who are working in the background but contributing seriously in issues to do with justice, rule of law and the like in this country. So the topics will be assigned based on the areas of expertise of the different people. So just keep your fingers...
so where are they drawn from? Because is it private park, is it academia, is it... I don't know.
Well, they're drawn from different sectors. You know, we have civil society actors, you know, who will be coming in. We have private lawyers who will be coming in. Some of the prominent lawyers in this country coming to discuss the different topics. We have people from academia who will also be coming in. We also have people from the NGO sector. Well, they will be lawyers, but with a background of the NGO sector. Yeah. Yes. So this is going to give a different mix to this.
It's sort of, perspective.
Yeah. So you shouldn't expect that one person is going to sit here and discuss all these different topics, because there will be different people.
Okay. So as we come to the end of this, I thought maybe you could just give us a sneak peek into the show. So talking about how is it sort of structured, what are the issues that we're looking out? Of course, we know we're talking about COVID, the law and human rights. That's the overall, but like, how is this structured so that we're able to have a meaningful, you know, conversation or an impactful discussion around this? Yeah.
Well, thank you. So, each of these topics is going to be packaged, you know, in almost a similar manner, you know. So we'll be starting with the foundational issues. For starters, you know. If we say we're going to discuss the rights of children in this country, you know, we do not want to attack it at a higher level. We want to start by making you to understand that who is a child, you know, what are their general rights, you know, or what are they entitled to as children, you know, before we come to discussing how COVID has impacted on them, right?
You need to first understand what their rights are.
The very basics. So we want to demystify the law, essentially.
Oh, so basically you're living to the title, You and the Law.
Yes. So we want to bring the law down to the common man, you know. We want, if a border like you had earlier on stated, listens or watches us on this program, you know, to be able to associate, you know, with the issues which are being discussed at his own level. Because I think the temptation for many people in the past when they discuss legal topics is to be, you know, pompous with the words, you know, which therefore ends up alienating
certain,
actually a great majority of those who should be, you know, benefiting from this. So the only persons who will be understanding are probably lawyers or educated people who have the ability to pay a lawyer anyway. So we want to take it down. So that will be the foundational issues. Now next we'll be talking about marrying those foundational issues to the COVID experience. You know, how has COVID impacted? If children have these rights, how have they been impacted on by COVID? You know. So after talking about the COVID experience and relating to the different rights,
so sort of pulling that connection.
Exactly. So after that, we'll be talking about we'll be looking to the future. You know, what is it going to be like after COVID? You know, because for sure there are certain things which are not going to come back to normal. You know, different places are going to be left in a different way. Different people's lives have been impacted forever. So we need to look into the future. You know, issues like, do we need a COVID passport, for example? You know, must you be forced to, you know, to vaccinate so that you can access a COVID passport to fly out of this country? You know, so those will be the different.
But I also think more importantly, perhaps, would be to reflect on if we got another COVID or a similar pandemic 5 years down the road, how do we prepare? I think there will be a lot of focus also on the lessons that we can pick from
Exactly.
Because I think the interesting bit, I remember when COVID just came, they said, you know, Uganda has had a good history of handling similar situation. We had Ebola, we had, I think, SARS, and they said, you know, countries were benchmarking on Uganda. Yeah, so I think it would be interesting also to focus on what we can learn from our experience now and
Yes.
how that can influence our preparedness. So we talk about human rights, Emma, generally. But I know that in the human rights spaces, there's a discussion around rights holders and duty bearers. And so I thought that, so normally they talk about duty bearers to be sort of the government side of things. So I'm wondering, at the broader level, what would we talk about as government's role, or in as far as the enforcement of human rights, even amidst pandemics like this is?
Yeah. So I think there are three issues that should arise around that, you know. There's an issue to do with the respect, you know. There's an issue to do with protection, you know, and then fulfillment of those rights. So, you know, Uganda is lauded across the world because we have some of the best laws in this country.
So it is said.
Yes, or at least it's said. You know, we have a very good constitution. Of course, some parts may be a bit controversial, which we may not go into, but our laws are good to an extent. The other issue, which is failing us, is about the enforcement of those laws and those rights and respect of the same. You know, because now if you have a right to, if you have civil liberties guaranteed, you know, do you have someone else who is willing to respect, to protect, you know, the same? The other day, I believe most of you saw videos of a magistrate, a chief magistrate in Imoroto, who was manhandled at a police station. But I mean, this is part of the process to enforce these rights. It's
part of the justice system.
Yes, in this country. So probably he has gotten firsthand what a majority of other people are doing. What?
Go through.
Yeah. You know, so all the things are somehow connected one or the other.
So Emma, thank you. As we come to the end of this show, what are like your parting shots now? What's your message for the viewers? You could look into the camera, you know, tell the viewers, you know, what to expect and stuff like that as you wrap this up.
Yes, thank you. So, viewers, there's a lot to learn, you know, through this particular project. You know, we need you to find time, listen in, and learn the different aspects of the law, because the people who are going to break down these issues of the law are experts in their different fields. And you can expect to enrich, you know, your mind, you know. Like they say, some people go elsewhere to enrich their bodies, you know, grow big and all that. But you should utilize this moment to grow your mind, you know. Because like the host said earlier, ignorance of the law is no defense. So I hope that after this program, or after these shows that are coming along, you'll be able to know that ignorance of the law is no defense, and you'll be better prepared to fight for your own rights. Thank you so much.
What a way to wrap it up. With this, viewers, we come to the end of today's episode of You and the Law. Like I said, this program is there for you. It's there to make you understand the law in its most basic form and how it affects your life. So I urge you to watch House of Talent Television and follow this program and learn the law and give us feedback on the comment section. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to discuss. Because this program is bigger than COVID-19. We have a lot lined up outside this edition which focus on COVID-19. So with that, we come to the end of today's episode. It's a bye from us.
KCCA has taken a number of steps to address this sanitation challenge, which include, but not limited to the following: the setup,
Welcome to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk.
A wise man once said, "The future has a name, and its name is hope. A tiny flicker of light that feeds on hope is enough to shatter any shield of darkness." At Mandulus, we really believe.
It was like the Psalms. When you look at David, he's passing through hard things, but then he's willing to talk about them. So music allowed me to be real, authentic. To God, he uses song to minister to me. So it was more, it's personal, I can relate to it, and he's helping me overcome through that, to be able to be used as that vessel that delivers this message, which I know that I've just borrowed from heaven. My music statement is to write music that will be able to speak to the heart, soul, and spirit, restoring the goodness. You know, when in the Bible it says, and he looked at it and it was good. The message that I have, there are 10 songs. They will be specifically invoking that God has already said, that we have to embrace as his image, to restore goodness in this world. Music is not what defines you. For me, that was a great revelation, that my identity is more in God, in who God calls me. If I can inspire you also to use your gifts and talents to make a difference, I would have played my part in this world.
I will rise and rise. Now is the time. Rise and praise you, Lord.
Angela, so having stated the obligations, what would be your assessment of Uganda as a country? How are we doing in as far as the prevention of gender-based violence is concerned? What would be your quick appraisal? How are we doing as a country?
As a country, I'll first appreciate the successes. I'll commend government to some extent that there have been enactment of laws that, like the Domestic Violence Act. We have the other laws and even the Constitution itself. However, there's still a lot that has to be done.
Yes.
For instance, as a government, we have a silent pandemic that most people that are in government have failed to understand. This silent pandemic is gender-based violence, where people are focusing on how many people are dying of COVID, and no one is focusing on how many people are becoming victims and survivors of gender-based violence. So it really, really affects. And then the other thing is in regards to the implementation. We have very, very good laws in Uganda, but then one of the main issues that we face is in regards to the implementation of those laws. So there's lacking in regards to the implementation. And then there's also lacking in regards to sensitization. People don't know these laws. You'll find someone harassing a person online and they'll think it's funny. Someone look at you and they're like, oh, and then they'll give you a sexual comment and they think it is funny, it is okay to look at a woman or a man and you make a sexual comment.
Even men, huh?
Yes, so that's why I said a man or a woman. So this affects either sides. It affects a woman, it affects a man, and it affects also children.
I have the pleasure to present to you
KCCA has taken a number of steps to address this sanitation challenge, which include, but not limited to the following: the setup,
Welcome to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk.
A wise man once said, "The future has a name and its name is hope. A tiny flicker of light that feeds on hope is enough to shatter any shield of darkness." At Mandulus, we really believe.
It was like the Psalms. When you look at David, he's passing through hard things, but then he's willing to talk about them. So music allowed me to be real, authentic. To God, he uses song to minister to me. So it was more, it's personal, I can relate to it, and he's helping me overcome through that, to be able to be used as that vessel that delivers this message, which I know that I've just borrowed from heaven.
Cast down on my soul. Why don't you hold
My music statement is to write music that will be able to speak to the heart, soul, and spirit, restoring the goodness. You know, when In the Bible it says, and he looked at it and it was good. The message that I have, there are 10 songs. They will be specifically invoking that God has already said that we have to embrace as his image to restore goodness in this world. Music is not what defines you. For me, that was a great revelation that my identity is more in God, in who God calls me. If I can inspire you also to use your gifts and talents to make a difference, I would have played my part in this world.
I will rise and rise. Now is the time. Rise and praise you, Lord.
Welcome to the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela. It's yet another Tuesday where we get to bring you the best guest on the CEO Bench. The CEO Bench exists to bring you people who are already to the top or people who are on their way to the top. If they're already on the top, what is it like? Do they have an experience to share with us? Are you struggling to get to the top? Do you want to be a CEO? Do you understand what it takes to get there? Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, is the one and only, the man on the journey. He's been moving and still moving. Tony Otoa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We are bongering.
Thank you.
And good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
You're looking sharp.
As always, I try to be sharp.
It looks like this thing of the CEO is beginning to rub on quite well.
No, it's just the whole attitude of excellence. You have to try and seem excellent.
Yes.
You have to look excellent. So, yes.
True. I totally agree with you. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I just want to, first of all, take this moment to welcome you to the show and to say the CEO Bench is an interesting place to be in.
Sure.
Sometimes it gets hot, but
Sure.
we have the AC in here. Just so that if it becomes hard, you say increase the AC so we can sweat a little bit or take away the sweat a little bit.
Okay.
But welcome to the show. And I want to start from a very personal note of knowing you. First
Sure.
of all, who is the comrade Tony Otoa, and what's your story? Where do you come from? Who are you? What are you?
I know it's a CEO bench, so usually people want to assume that all CEOs are over-learned and stuff like that. So I will change the script this time round. I consider myself a certified hustler. I am a certified hustler. If I told you 15 years ago I was working in a kitchen, running dishes, washing dishes, and flipping burgers, and all of these things, you wouldn't believe that. But also, I started off as a town boy on a truck, and I think it was something that really created a lot of value in terms of understanding the country because of the travels that we were doing. And then, of course, I worked in a kitchen, out of this country, washing dishes and flipping burgers and all of these things, and then decided to go back to school. I was a journalist as well prior to that. And then, of course, went back to school and decided to study law and international relations for my undergrad and master's. Interestingly, I've never used that on any single day. So then, of course, I get into a consultancy business, doing a lot of consultancy around the oil and gas sector and supporting a lot of businesses that want to come into Uganda, a lot of country risk analysis for the businesses. And then that's how I get sucked into Total exploration and production, where I start off as a public affairs manager and then eventually take on another role of national content manager, so 2 roles. And I leave that again at a certain point in 2018, and that's how I get also called into Stanbic. So I am currently at Stanbic, where I started off as head of enterprise development, and now the CEO of one of the Stanbic holding subsidiaries, which is the Stanbic Business Incubator Limited.
Wow. Well, Tony, what a journey right there. And I want to take you back to that one more personal question about Tony Otoa. If I'm looking to know who you are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as Ugandan?
That's the easiest question, I think, to answer. I am a typical Lao man from Erute North, in a place called Ogur, and where I will be laid to rest is in a village called Agweng. So if you go there and you just say Otoa Tony, they won't really know me because my father is also Otoa Tony. You have to ask for Junior, and when you're asking, you have to ask with an accent. Junior Tikwene, where is Junior? And they will identify me. But I'm typically Ugandan, only Ugandan, from Lira. I pride myself from being from Lira. Earlier on, I was joking and saying I'm the coolest Lango south of Karuma. When you cross Karuma, there are so many. But when you're down the south after Karuma, I think I'm number 1.
Wow. Well, now that you know Tony Otoa is Ugandan, and of course, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
I think it's the love for country, love for nation. You know, truth be told, the country is in it's a crisis. Leadership crisis, economic crisis, social crisis. There's so many mismatching areas. But at the end of the day, it's home. You know, you cannot run and abandon your home because of the issues in your home. I think that then creates an opportunity for you to do something to change what's happening and what you see as a crisis. So in terms of what I see as a value, or what I take out of that for me, I think is just the love for country, the need to serve country the best way I can. And I mean, I can't say I can change everything, but the little I can do to create a difference, I think is more meaningful.
Wow. Mr. Tony Otoa, growing up, what did you want to be in life? And what was the journey like for Mr. Otoa?
Yeah, you know, my father is crazy. My father would call us and he would show me the compass. The idea was supposed to be a pilot. You know, the planes would fly over our house and my father would be like, yeah, you're going to be a pilot. But of course, as you grow, you realize that you have so many things that really define you. I was never a sportsman. So I enjoyed a lot of debate and, you know, a lot of indoor activities. And that is, I think, what really drove me into some of the things that I do up to today. Public speaking, the love for debates and really a lot of intellectual discourse and all this stuff. But besides that, I think it's also the fact that, I won't lie, I didn't know what I wanted to be.
As a child?
As a child, I never really knew what I wanted to be. I think apart from being a pilot that my father was really instilling in me, it wasn't really a clear-cut path of this is who I want to be. And that was a journey that kept on happening all the time until recently, I'll be honest with you.
Wow.
And you see, I always consider life to be a journey. If anyone tells you that they know what they were when they were 5 years old and that's who they are right now, you need to question them more. Because you see, life is a journey and the process is what defines us and what kind of creates who we become. And you know, through going through the life journeys, the lessons, the trials, the success points, those define our paths. And I think, in all honesty, I will want to be vulnerable and say I am still defining my path the best way I can.
So would you say definitively that this is the point I realize this is who I want to be and what I want to be in life? At what point?
I wouldn't say I even still know what, I mean, I wouldn't say I definitely know what I really, really, really want to be. I'm still growing. And every day is a new understanding of myself. I always say that when you reach that point of arrivism, thinking you know who you are, you have reached who the best you are, that is the point that you start dying. Life is a simultaneous journey of learning and learning and learning yourself, growing yourself, building yourself. That for me is a continuous journey. So I always say the Otoa of yesterday, no, the Otoa of today should be better than the Otoa of yesterday. So by doing that, that means that today I have to learn more. So it's wisdom upon wisdom upon wisdom. And the more wiser I become by the day, the better and more clarity I get for my life's purpose.
Wow. Well, you are live on the CEO Bench, live on Facebook, on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Go to our studios, subscribe, and be part of the CEO Bench family growing bigger and better. We want to dive into a more serious question with Mr. Toa right here in the studio. But first, I want to bring you straight to the next question that Mr. Toa is going to take in our interview today. Mr. Toa is the Chief Executive Officer of Stanbic Business Incubator Limited, a new section of Stanbic Bank, a new section of Standard Group, I think, and of course here in Uganda dealing with business. And he's on the CEO Bench as a man who scored with 25 votes from you guys who watch the show. He received 15 votes from the Ugandan diaspora, saying we don't quite believe that we can invest at home because, and many of them said they have sent money home and they have come and did not find a roof or a foundation dug or anything, but have sent money. So they have a very negative, sort of like thoughts about business that can exist in Uganda from when you send money from abroad to your people at home. So they say, I don't think I can invest in Uganda. I don't think home is best for my investment because I'm always cheated. But here we are with Mr. Tony Toa at Stanbic Bank. The stuff you're doing there, receive a lot of voting from there. And a lot of these people wanted to know how it's going. I have Mr. JB Atine Best in Sweden, I think in Denmark. These are guys who are looking forward to seeing you on the show. I have Edwin in Germany. I've got a lot of people in Australia. Dennis in Australia. Mr. Toa is now here. Daniel Engole, the Soul Reverend in the US, your brother from another mother, is finally here. I hope you'll pray for him when he leaves the show. And of course, you out there, so your vote's already here, and we're going to dive into that discussion right now. But first, Mr. Toa.
Yes, sir.
In today's rapidly very changing world, learning to lead and design our organization to read the turbulence creatively is critical to our ability to make a positive impact in our community, in what we do, in our work as a leader. This program is quite very important. We look at the people who are going to the top, as well as people who are already at the top. And our focus is on transformational change. We want to look at the implications for those individuals and what they do, as well as their individual leadership abilities and capabilities. How are they carrying themselves? What are they doing? How have they arrived in that space? But of course, we're looking at that to be able to help people out there who are following the show to look at the organizational culture. If you're already there as a leader, as a CEO, what is the culture in that place? And as well as the structures that you put in place that if you leave tomorrow, we can be able to measure your impact based on that. And we often looked at quantifiable, justifiable, measurable metrics of a leader when a leader leaves that place. Can we quantify it? Is it there? What are the metrics that you left in place? And so this program combined that intellectual rigor together with a personal challenge with a lot of collaborative creative expressions along the way. These are some of the things that the CEOs like you people do where you've reached. And I want to take you to the leadership question, which is very simple. On leadership, first of all, what is leadership by your understanding and by your own definition, Mr. Toa?
You know, from the build-up that you just gave, there's a lot in but I'll just dive. I wanted to break it down, but let me just dive into your question. You know,
and it's okay for you to break it down as well.
Yeah, because you know you've talked about crisis, transformational leadership, and all of these things. But let me just go into leadership. That's a starting point. Everything begins and ends with leadership. I don't know if you know.
True.
Leaders are people who are needed in good times and bad times. Leaders are people who create good times in bad times. Leaders are people who steer society, organizations, people in bad times and good times. But what's really also key for you to really put into perspective and understand, Eddie, is leaders arise or rise during times of crisis. And again, now that's now going back to trying to unpack your very big catalog. You see, if you think about, let's just go to the Bible as a point of reference and think about how many leaders came out of the Bible in times of crisis. From Solomon to David to Daniel, in the lion's den, to Joseph, they never came out in good times. They came out in times of crisis when they were needed. Like so Moses and all these guys. Scratch the Bible. Let's just look at society today. Most revolutionaries or leaders who have transformed society have come in to take care of the issues of the time, the crisis of the time. Now, average people run away during times of crisis. They go and hide. Right now we're facing a global pandemic. It's a crisis. How many businesses are making it today in the crisis? There are some businesses that are making it today, but it's because of identifying the leadership opportunities in that. So in times of crisis, a lot of people run away. Some people really stay. In terms of transformational leadership, that is now where you start asking the bigger questions of what does it take to move a company from this point to that point? What are some of the critical decisions that you as a leader, decisions you have to make sure that your business stays afloat, your community stays afloat, your society stays organized in such a time? And a lot of the time, these decisions are not the best decisions. We're going to probably go into another lockdown. And this one might be even a crazier lockdown considering the number of cases that we have when it comes to COVID. And the president, as a leader, is stuck with the question of the economy is starting to get back after the first bout. Should I let it go? But he has, everyone is looking up to him. You understand? 40 plus million people are looking up to that one individual. Now, that is where leadership really comes out. So you can either choose to run away or stay in. Now just go back to excellence, and that's when our leadership and excellence comes into play. Because you see, excellent organizations, excellent people, excellent societies, excellent individuals always have leadership at the core. Excellent leaders or excellent people provide solutions. Average people find problems or see problems. And when you talk about transformational leadership, it's really leadership of changing mindsets, changing communities, changing attitudes, changing paradigms, changing the way we do and see things. And it all starts with the vision of the leader, which begins, of course, in here, and then manifests through here, and then through the actions. When your followers or your people start seeing that, they resonate. Because now you are displaying an attitude of conviction. Conviction is what people will see and get attracted to you because you start inspiring them. A leader in a situation like we're facing today is one who sees what's happening and says, we have to do something about it. And however much you sway him with money or all of these things, he is stuck on the pursuit to make a difference by changing that. People see that. Let me just give a simple example of that conviction. You remember what we used to, we used to study a lot of funny things in school. Prairies, Saskatchewan, Alberta, St. Lawrence Seaway. But do you remember studying about Alexander the Great?
Yes.
The man who conquered almost half of the world.
Oh, yes.
The man who named cities after his horse, after his name.
The man believed to have translated the book called the Bible from Greek to the language we have today.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
He died at around the age of, he wasn't about 40, but he was just about there.
Very young.
Died while on his pursuit of all this glory in India. Do you talk about him a lot today?
Not very much.
I will give you context. Let me put in now Jesus. Jesus died at the age of 33. He was very despised at the time. In fact, when he was crucifying, it was a whole event. He had very few followers. 2,000 years today. Do you talk about Jesus more or you talk about Alexander the Great?
Obviously, Jesus has
You know
never
why?
been
And you know why?
by anyone.
You know why? His vision, his conviction, his inspiration and attitude, and all of that managed to motivate and inspire people to follow him. And I also end this by saying, leadership is not about creating buildings and creating all these earthly things. Leadership is about people. If you want to build the craziest foundation in an organization, in anything you do, people should be number one. Because people are what extend your legacy. You talked about when you leave office or whatever, how do people remember you? People will never remember you for building a building. That building, if an earthquake happened, will go down into rubble. But people will transfer that legacy and say, there was this man, there was this leader who moved us from here to there. That is leadership. Abraham Lincoln, all these great people in America that we keep talking about, they never built buildings or anything, but they worked people. So leadership is about people.
Wow. Mr. Tony Toa is definitely on fire. And if you have a question, please drop it there. Kisses and disses are all welcome. Tony Toa, before I lose the train of thought, of course, so are you a leader? And what kind of a leader are you?
Everyone is a leader. A sweeper is a leader in their gifting. You're a leader in your gifting. I'm a leader in my gifting. Leadership is not about people. It's not about having followers. Leadership is about pursuing the best in your gifting to lead, to champion, to be the best. A sweeper, the fact that they haven't actually come, but they are really good at their sweeping, you will notice they're not around. And you will never be as good as them because they are leaders in that. A lawyer, there's so many. But what you're an athlete. What creates an elite athlete, or what separates an elite athlete from the others?
Discipline and commitment, and a lot of personal commitment to what you
set out. That is where leadership starts. Usain Bolt is a leader in his field. You know, I hear people talk about all these basketballers and whatever. They're leaders in their field, but it's because also of the time and discipline they put in managing that craft.
Mr. Toa, we're going to take one more question before we go for a break. And that question would be, anyone can steer the ship, but it will always take a leader to chart the course. When MV Templar crashed in Lake Victoria, a story is told of how the captain said, I can't do this anymore, balance the boat. And the owner of the boat, may his soul rest in peace, said, no, this is the biggest catch we have. I can't allow this to happen. And the wife said, the captain is just being jealous because we've had our biggest catch today. Let me go in there and steer the ship. And indeed he was in, and he piloted, and the thing crashed. So the learning from there is that anyone can steer the ship, but it will take a leader to chart the course. That said, Mr. Toa, what is your understanding of leadership at the personal level, family level, society, corporation, and the national level? Briefly.
I think leadership is really it's a compass. It's what defines what we do, how we do, and why we do what we do. You see, it's like a ship. You just talked about a ship. A ship without a compass in an ocean or in a lake will go anywhere. It has no sense of direction, no timing of where it's going and when it will get there or whatever. Leadership begins as a personal thing. The reason why we have a society that is getting messed up with so many things happening and we're seeing corruption happening is because leadership is failing from a personal level. You are corrupt as an individual and you pride in it because you're gaining more. You go home, your children are seeing that and thinking that is the way of life. Community and society is saying, this guy is a good guy, he's a rich guy, he's the man of society. And society is now beginning to agree to that being a norm. That's now where the problem starts. So let's just go back to your question. Leadership begins from your personal compass, your true north. Why are you on earth? What's your purpose? When you walk out of here, how do people impact on people? Or how do you want people to remember you? You know, nowadays people are dying, and all people can say is, you know, we had a good time with that guy, but beyond that, what next? And then you find the same people coming to bury you, then after that they even actually have a drink up after that, and life goes on. You'll never be remembered. But just think about this, and let me just give you a simple example of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was a 4-foot lady, very short lady. She was a teacher. You know, people think teachers have no impact. She was a teacher. On her way to school to teach, she was so disturbed by the number of young children who were hungry on the streets, having no sense of direction. One day, she just woke up, went to the principal and said, you know what? Kalas, I'm done. I am going to feed the children of the world. The principal laughed. He said, you small woman, first of all, what money do you have? You think feeding the world is? But when you think of Mother Teresa today, what do you think of? The woman who tried to feed the world. Her mission still exists way beyond her. Going back to the same principle of people. People and purpose. And you see, purpose cannot be from outside or without. You know, you don't tell me that this is your purpose, Otoa. No, it comes from within. And you know, leaders are very crazy people. Yeah? You know, it's the same Museveni who read a newspaper and he got pissed off and went and, you know, on the streets and went and joined the bush. Yeah. They talk about people like Fidel Castro and all these people who... Leaders are people who just get angry with what is happening and make a commitment to make a difference. Mother Teresa did that. Martin Luther King did that. Think about any leader who is prominent in society, the likes of Malcolm X and whatever. You forego your comfort zone to make a difference. And you know what's so interesting? Some of these guys even forewent their families. Look at Mandela. Fighting a cause with children who are as young as, I don't know. Just to say, I am committed to this journey, which I know if I do the bit I can do, it will create a difference for my society. That is leadership. That is where you start from. And that is where you start creating impactful change.
Wow. Well, it is said that he who doesn't understand the direction of leadership is just taking a long walk in the park by himself. And if you don't have people, then you do not know where you're going. But leadership at the personal level is very key. And you can see the passion with which Mr. Otor is speaking. Definitely, it's coming from far. It springs from far. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the CEO Bench will dive into the next step of Mr. Otor's journey. Change management, from Total EP to being a journalist at New Vision at some time, or Monitor, and to being a kitchen man, to being a town boy running around the country, and to saying, hey, let me show up in Harvard and try and do something, and then coming back as a lawyer, as well as a man with an understanding of oil and gas. What a journey. How do you transform yourself? How do you move from that area? We'll be right back after the break. This is the CEO Bench.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772443085, or check our website www.sealuganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
Welcome back. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Ed Yokela, and in the studio is the CEO of Stanbic Bank or Stanbic Business Incubator Limited. We're still struggling to get out of that new yes. The divorce.
Not a divorce.
I don't know. It's a divorce. It's
It is an expansion, you know. When your family gets, when your children start getting bigger, you also allow them to go start up their families. So it is an expansion.
Yes. All right, but welcome back to the show, Mr. Toa. Mr. Toa, before we went for a break, we were tackling the question of leadership, and I want to take you to the next question of course, change management, and then I will bring you back to what are some of the things that excite you as a CEO. First of all, what is it like being a CEO now that you're on top?
I think it's everyone has their own journey. I'll speak about mine. Mine is it's a very interesting learning curve, one that is all about continuous learning. You get to learn that things are done differently, but also you also get to learn that people are different in many ways. But the beauty about that as well is that you get to appreciate the diversity and try and work with that to make things happen in your area. But for me, I think it's a very interesting journey. And the reason I'm calling it a journey is because it's still a process. It's always, like I said, suicide for you to say you have arrived and assume you are at the pinnacle. Leadership or such situations are all about growing and learning and making yourself better. So I think for me, it's a very interesting one. Something that I keep, every day is a learning day. Every day I learn something new. Every day I meet different people, new ideas, and it provokes my mind to also go back and challenge myself. But it also gives me an opportunity to want to be better if I have to serve better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I want to serve better, if I want to be meaningful, if I want to create value for my organization, my people, I have to better myself first. So it's kind of like a teacup. a cup rather. If it's half empty, you can't give so many other people a sip. But if it's very full and it's overflowing, you can give as many people to sip. So my job is to make sure that this cup is full of value as much as it can. And I think for me in my journey, this is what I strive for every day. It's a very interesting learning curve.
Wow. Mr. Toa, change is not easy, and many people struggle with change.
Yeah.
Many people don't know how to manage it. In fact, we have seen situations where people don't want to leave because they don't know how to deal with where they have come from when they decide to go back. And you have been a man on the journey. The CEO Bench pretty much focused on the change management and how it is done. And I want to just give you a perspective here, which is the response to external influences always causes the person to move. where modifying day-to-day actions to achieve desired, results causes the person to move or other people to come in. And transformation is about identifying or modifying the core beliefs as well as the long-term, behaviors of that person. Those are totally two different things. But sometimes in profound ways to achieve desired results. Your journey has been one hell of a journey, to say the least. You've been to too many places. How would you say you've been able to manage the change? Others don't find it very easy. Why are you not stuck?
There are only two things in the world that are constant, rather. Two things in the world are time and change. I'll repeat that. The only two things in the world that are constant are time and change. And because they're a constant, we do not have so much control of them. I can't stop the time. I wish I could. I am an older guy than the guy who came into the studio 30 minutes ago. I can't stop time. I can't stop change. But what I can do is control them. And how do you do that? By planning. Can I repeat that?
Please do.
Time and change are the two constants that you can never do away with.
In fact, I want to repeat it a third time looking direct into the camera because some guy might be confused.
All right. So there are two things that I know for sure you can't do anything about. And that is time and change. And the reason why you can't do much about them is because they are constants. So the only way you can actually deal with them is managing them. And how you can manage them is by planning. And that's why planning becomes a very essential thing in our lives. I was speaking with my mentor yesterday, Agase Kalala, who was telling me in business planning for his market, he has to plan 18 months ahead. So what you are eating today was actually planned 18 months before. How many of us think that way? How many of us plan for the next month, the next week, the next situation? We're in a crisis. But how many of us have been planning on saving? We're in a crisis. How many of us have been planning or putting aside something in a granary? You know, it's very interesting how our forefathers were very interested in planning and saving. We had granaries. There was hardly famine in our time. The only famine that came in was a result of climate. But where seasons were great, we had granaries around houses. In Lango, a typical Lango traditional house had to have about, 3 other small huts, for the other women. And each hut had 2 or 3 granaries. Why is it that today, in 2021, we have situations where people are going hungry? It's planning. It's planning. Because I cannot control the weather. I can try now with irrigation, but I can't control the weather. So it's really about planning. And I think as individuals, as businesses, as entities, it's important to always forecast. The word forecast is also very interesting. Forecast, to plan ahead. You remember those days on UBC, they would give us weather forecast and say tomorrow is going to rain, and you walk and you think, it's important.
Yes.
So all of these things are very important, even in leadership or in terms of planning for change. In my organization, we never thought COVID was going to happen. We never. Last year, we never. Then COVID happened. We were training businesses in classroom settings. We had to transform that. Meaning we pivoted. We had to change quickly with the times. But on top of changing quickly with the times, we say now planning ahead for if this happens again, what do we do? So when now people are talking of a possible lockdown, we've already gone back to online mode. And you know what? We're killing it. You know why? Because we planned. We invested in systems and technology that can make sure that our services are provided simultaneously and seamlessly. It's planning. Because guys, change will never stop. I can't stop my hair from growing gray. I mean, I can go and buy a Kanta, but the ladies might not like it. Maybe they like prefer it like this, you know.
Yeah.
But you see, it's important for us to understand that it's crucial for us to plan. And if you want to manage change or change management, it's important to plan. If I want to be better than the Ottawa today, I start planning. And if I'm to plan to be the better Ottawa than I was today, what do? I will read more. I will invest more in what I am spending my time on. I will invest more on the kind of friendships and networks I'm creating, because that is part of the process of planning. And that's why you see organizations will always have a strategic plan. What is your strategic plan? And it's not just a 1 month plan, it's a 5-year, 10-year plan. Someone says, I am investing for the 20 years of this business's growth. Planning. And that is how you manage change. So change is going to be a constant, and we can sit back, lament, and wait for things to happen in a good way. Or we can actually say, how about we transform our businesses, ourselves, personally, our communities, societies, to start getting ready for this eventuality which could possibly happen. So planning.
Wow, Mr. Toa. So the change from being a town boy to the kitchen man to, you know, a journalist to Total, and now to where you are.
Yes.
If you were to take us through, if I'm stuck in my job and I'm watching you from my desk and I don't know exactly what to do, many people are stuck in that place. What would you say to them? What is your understanding of change and how it is managed from a personal point of view?
I'll be very honest with you. Mine was a crazy learning curve, and I will speak about my story. I became very religious at some point. I was in fact part of the choir in church and all of that, and again also a camera guy in church and all of that. But I'll be honest with you, you know, the mind, and if you saw my tweet today, the mind is a very powerful thing. You can choose to make a difference based on how you choose to control your mind. I always say you can change how you look, you can change how you or where you stay, you can change your clothes, you can change your friends. But Eddie, as long as your mind or your mindset is stuck, all of that is just, it's outside, it's a facade. You're going to still come back to the same point. So you need to understand that it's important for you to learn how to dominate and control your mind and move it into the positive vibes that will move you from point A to point B. When I was working in a kitchen in Croydon, you know my biggest admiration? To have a job where I wore a suit and a tie. You won't believe, that was my admiration. In Croydon, in the UK, I was illegal. I knew the difference between a police siren and an ambulance. Like I knew when to run and when to chill. You understand?
Yes.
But my desire, because I dropped out of school, was to one day have a job. Today, I despise a suit and a tie. Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be wearing every day. I despise a suit and a tie. If you know me, Eddie, and you know me very well, I am in my khakis most of the time, Monday to Friday khakis and mismatched suits and all that stuff. That is me. But I'll be honest with you, it just begins with your mindset, where you say, is this the best I can do for myself? Or is this the best I can serve the world? Because I always believe that it's about you, in the sense that you say, I have this gift. We all have gifts, by the way. And it's just about discovering what these gifts are. We all have gifts. And saying, how do I serve this gift to the world? To be able to get noticed, number one, but also to feel like I'm pursuing my life's purpose and goal. A musician with a gift of music can choose to just sing in their home and no one will know. But they can also choose to sing, go and look for a record company, record that beautiful gift, and then what we call multiplication, create multiple avenues for that gift to go out to the world. And if possible, push it out as much as you can. By doing that, you're adding value to yourself because people are getting to know you. And you know, an interesting thing about money, money is attracted to value. There's a reason why a diamond is priced at this amount, or water, or fuel, it's value. And who creates that value? Who says these things are supposed to be like that? We do. So when you say, this is who I am, this is my gift, this is what I want to share with the world, that is how you are. Michael Jackson, it was his gift. And that gift made him very valuable. Quincy Jones, the gift. And it made him valuable. Now, people come to him as a consultant. You know what a consultant is? A consultant, by the way, is not a worker. He's a guy who just comes and tells you what to do.
Yeah, to do.
And then you do it. He
Things
doesn't
you
do
know
it.
how to do it, yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Do you know how much a consultant gets paid? Like some of these guys who come into Uganda today.
Well, I get paid $50 per hour.
You get $50 per hour?
Sometimes $100 per hour.
Some consultants get paid $5,000 per hour, my
Yes.
brother. So what you will earn in a year, a consultant will earn in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And he will fly back to his country. You know why? He has mastered his gift. He has refined his gift. He has added value to that and become a valuable item that people will just call him to speak for 1 hour and they pay him. Are we doing that as individuals? Are we lamenting? Are we going to jobs that we don't really like every day and just assume that that is who we are, that is where we are?
I just want to pay rent for my
I just
child.
want to pay rent for my
I just
child.
want to pay school fees for my
How
children.
long will you be paying rent? And remember that as we grow,
Yeah.
these bills also increase.
Yeah.
And also remember that everything becomes more expensive as we grow as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's important for us to reflect and say, we want to create value in ourselves, for our community, and serve ourselves to the world. By doing that, trust me, value comes.
Mr. Toa, change is not an easy thing.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people struggle with it. I have the former executive director of KCCA seated where you're seated there, Andrew Chitaka, and we're asking the same question. And he says, it was not an easy journey for me to transition from City Hall after 9 years to now being a man back on the street to do my own stuff. But I think I fully understood that I needed to move, because if I don't move, it will find me. Mr. Toa, that said, on the CEO bench, we want to know today, was there a time in your journey of change management before you arrived at Stanbic Bank and later on to the Stanbic Business Incubator Limited, that you were scared of making one step? And how did you come out of it?
Absolutely. I'll be honest with you. Every single day, there's so many things that scare me. Like any human being.
Yeah.
But I always say that every single day, do one or two things that really scare you. You know, the more you do them, they stop being scary.
Yeah.
Fear is here. The uncertainty. You know, Eddie, if I told you that, okay, let me just give you a simple example. Remember when COVID had just started?
Yeah.
The anxiety and the fear. You don't even want to even touch anything or even look at a guy because you're scared of COVID.
Yes.
But you see, we have learned to live with it for 1 year. We have learned remedies along the year. We have also learned that it's important to vaccinate, to be able to survive, and so on and so forth. But more importantly is to understand that fear is the only thing that can stop you from either being great or being amazing. And you know the problem with fear a lot of the time is because of outside perceptions of people, of what people will think. Oh, if I leave this CEO job, and I'm on the street, people will say, you know, you understand the attitude?
Yes.
But you see, when you have created, like back again to the idea of value, a job doesn't bother you because you know the moment you leave that, someone will be coming to snatch you off the street.
That is change
But you
management.
begin with creating value for yourself, to yourself.
Wow. Well, we're on the CEO bench, and this is Mr. Toa, is the CEO of Stanbic Business Incubator Limited, the man who arrived on the top recently. And as you can see, is headed to greater things from that experience. Mr. Toa, change management. The principle is always to apply when moving out. Are there any principles that you have applied while moving out from one place to the next? And how do you communicate that as well as, you know, manage where you are going? Most people leave the job because a new person has come and they are no longer able to do what they used to do before and they need to get out. Or some people say, I've outgrown this place and I have to move and I'm going somewhere. So have you always communicated this? If yes, how do you communicate
I'll
it?
be very honest with you. The biggest mistake any human being can make is burning bridges. Always leave your workplace in a state where people don't want you to leave. That if you left, they're like, oh my God, we need to have this guy back. You don't want to leave a place and say, I'm handing in my resignation. The guy says, oh, Tumuwonye. Thank God. You understand?
Yeah.
But again, that just comes back into the issue of value. How much value? Because see, when you create value to yourself, your company feels it because you're also creating value for the company.
Yes.
You get it?
Yeah.
If I'm a camera guy and I'm learning more techniques on how to film, for instance,
Yeah.
and then I tell Eddie I'm leaving today, you will want me to stay. You want, I'll be different from a guy who you call and I come in, not sober, and I'm trying to do my job and I can't actually do it well, because that's the kind of person you want to go. All of my apologies for that. All of my jobs that I have done before, I'll be honest with you, I'm working with them today. I'm working with Total in the oil and gas space. I'm working with Accord. I'm working with all of these guys, and interestingly, I have actually come back in a better position of, again, a mini consultant, a person who's coming to create value for them. Not in a situation where they're telling me, Tumuwonye, we don't have to deal with this guy anymore. So it's very important for you to understand that legacy should be part of your journey in any place you are in, be it society, be it organization, be it community. We live in very many places or societies where it's communal, when you live as a neighbor and people say,
we're happy
he has left.
Yeah.
That means you haven't created value. And you will go to the next community or next place and still be the same. Because you haven't mastered the art from within to create that value that makes people want to be attracted to you and create value for your community, society, job, or any place. And I think that's what's really crucial.
Well, the CEO bench is going to take a break. And when we come back, Mr. Toa will dive into transformation. How do you create transformation? First of all, what is transformation? What is the understanding of transformation? Is he transforming the places that he has been to? Has he transformed the places he was before? And is he transforming the places in right now? And are there some quantifiable, justifiable, measurable metrics that we can follow as a man on the top? We'll be right back after the break. This is the CEO bench. Your kisses and dishes are all welcome. Please don't throw a stone because you might be in a glass house.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? Change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SIL Uganda on number 0772-443-085 or check our website www.siluganda.com or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom.
It is the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela. In the studio is Mr. Tony Okawotoa, the CEO of Stanbic Business Incubator Limited, the man on the top, and of course is still rising. And we're sharing the idea of personal leadership. What does it take for you to lead yourself to move forward? Some people don't even know how to start or where to be. And he's talking about change management. How do you manage change when you're moving from one job to the next and to the next? What happened? Do you burn the bridges like Tony was saying? No, because we're seeing a typical scenario where he's back in that place, even earning better than his salary was before. So how do you get to that point? It's something that we're talking about on the CEO Bench. And of course, this part of the show is about transformation. Mr. Tony Otoa, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much.
Transformational change is a process that we designed. For us here at the CEO Bench, we understand that one, you must design to create a significant change in the culture and work processes of an organization. And the procedure significantly improve in performance if you go there. What does transformation change mean to you at Stanbic Bank as the CEO? Or as Stanbic Incubator Business, rather?
I think it has very many facets, very many ways of looking at it. But I think for me personally, transformational leadership is really about not just about the whole organization, but it goes back to the individual.
Yeah, first.
Because it has to start with the individual, and then eventually you start seeing it having a ripple effect on all the people around, and your stakeholders, the people that you also engage with. But also transformational leadership in so much of a way is one that to transform, it takes a lot. It's a lot of learning and unlearning. Assuming that things are like this and should be like this because they were like this is the wrong way to actually make your move. You have to understand that so many things are transforming, are changing. We have gone through this crisis of COVID where people have learned that the digitization world or digital processes are very important in leadership, for instance. Leaders now have to go through that. If you want to transform as a leader, you have to also now take on board Zooms and team meetings and all of these. You have to get used to, can you see my presentation? Can you mute please? And all of this. You have to. Yeah. And these are things that were not very common 2 years ago. But transformational leadership for me is really about understanding that everything seems to be changing, and how do you as an individual, as a leader, work with that to be the ideal leader in that transformed environment. You can choose to be a guy who's not moving, you're static in one place. Or you can choose to be a guy who is developing faster to be able to deal with those changes. I was reading a very interesting book. It's really focusing on very much around crisis and leadership and change.
Yes.
And the writer goes on to say that it's very important for a leader who is going to survive and be magnificent to understand that it's important to plan for the bends and the corners that you do not see. Assuming just because you're on a straight road that everything is going to be straight is the worst a leader can think or assume. So you're supposed to imagine that at some 10 points, there are going to be changes. There are going to be bends.
Pitfalls.
Look at Nokia as a company. When the CEO of Nokia was speaking at a conference where they had made losses and so on and so forth, and they were kind of closing shop, he said, we actually did nothing wrong. The only thing that we did was we did nothing. Nokia was the #1 company. Boss, I had my small Nokia phone, I remember just to be on my belt.
Yes.
Where is Nokia today?
Yeah.
The likes of Samsung, Motorola came in and stole that market and kept on changing and doing things different. The iPhone came in. It came in to make having a phone cooler, sexier, nicer, and whatever. Things that static leadership of Nokia did not see transformational leadership. Assuming now, for instance, that, some of these soft drinks that you see, the competition that's going on with so many soft drinks that are coming into place, some of these big names had not actually factored in the truth that these small guys can actually come and take over your market. Yeah. Transformational leadership is about planning and preparing for those uncertain times, knowing that at the end of this straight road there's going to be a corner or a bend, and you need to anticipate and plan for it. And that is again where I go back to the idea of change. A constant. It will always happen. So what do you do when you're on the straight road? You start planning.
Wow.
You start planning.
Mr. Toa, we define change. Transformational leadership is something I speak very passionately about. And my definition of transformational leadership is a leadership approach to things that, one, causes change in an individual first, and then goes along to cause change in the social systems that transform the lives of many people, turning followers into leaders. That's how we define it here. But I want to take you to what is business transformation. First of all, we understand here as business transformation being a change of management of strategy, which can be defined as in any shift, or as any shift, realignment of things, and of course procedures, significant movement to things, as well as the performance. But you guys at Stanbic Bank, or rather at Stanbic Business Incubator Limited, what do you teach these people?
I think what's most important for us to understand is that business is not really all about making money, but it's about creating value in society. And I think that's what we want to do. When you create value in society, the money eventually comes. We are creating businesses that are going to have an impact on not just the nation, but on the communities and the people that they serve. That for me is transformational. It's not really about money. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake you can ever do is to seek success. That's the biggest mistake. If you just stopped at the point of, I am not going to seek success, but let me just create impact and value, success eventually comes. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you see, you made success your goal, that you're failing to enjoy the process and what it takes to really get there.
Yeah. And
you're struggling to get there.
Yeah.
But when you engulf the process and you create about the value of people, bettering yourself, value, success just comes. And trust me, back to the area of value, or money attached to value, success is inevitable. Success is inevitable. You see, if you think about the Wright brothers, for instance, let me tell you a simple story. The Wright brothers wanted to transform the world of aviation, transformational leadership in the world of aviation. On the other hand, you had a scientist who was paid by the American government. He had journalists going around following influencers, what we call influencers today, following him 24/7. He was paid by the military, about $50,000 at the time, a lot of money today. At the same time that the Wright brothers were trying to fly a plane. His motivation, success. His motivation, making money. His motivation, being famous. The Wright brothers, on the other hand, transformational leaders, was, let us do something that will change the world of aviation. They never had the press or influencers. They never had the budgets that this other guy had. In fact, what is said about them is that they used to move with spare parts almost 19 times a day. They would try to fly, they fail. They try to fly, they fail. They try to fly, they fail. Guess who flew first? Or who put the bird in the air?
The Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers. What happened to the other gentleman? He packed his bags and left. He, in fact, abandoned the project. So you understand where I'm coming from when I talk about transformation. So this is what we want to tell businesses. It's not really about the money and all. The money will come, but if you begin by bettering yourself as a business, adding value to yourself as a business, becoming impactful in your area of business, in your sector, the money is inevitable.
Wow. Mr. Tony Toa, to somebody who is watching you out there,
yeah,
and is a business person, and or somebody who has been beaten flat, living in America or in the UK have sent their money down here back home to try and, you know, start a business and things didn't work and they don't want to hear anymore. What would you say to them before we dive into the next set of questions that winds up our meeting today?
First of all, nothing is always clear. I lived away from home for close to 11 years. And it's just like you being here in Kampala and telling a guy to plant your seeds in Lira. It doesn't work like that. You have to be intentional. If you want to do business here, you have to be intentional. Make the time. If you want to do business in Uganda, we have now all these digital platforms that you can use. But most important of all, be intentional. Make the time. Come and see your investment. How many Indians and Mzungus do you see flying, staying in their countries and saying we have sent money to Uganda, we are doing something? They come and spend time here. And the beauty is this is our home. So as Ugandans, we can actually do more for ourselves here. So I never understand why one would actually send money to do business here or to, without actually coming and see where his money is going and where the investment is going. I know of several stories of people who've sent money to build houses, and the person who's building will take a picture of the neighbor's house and come and say, well, 2271. You understand?
Yeah.
You have to be intentional about your investment. Because you see, people in the diaspora work so hard for their money. It's hard earned. And for you to just send it and have someone play around with it, that is suicide. So it's important for you to understand that it's critical for you to come and look at your investment. If I want to plant soya beans in Lira, I cannot just send money and say, how many acres have you dug? Okay, I have, and then just go back after 3 months. I have to go and make sure that while they're planting, how many seeds are they putting in? What's the spacing? How many, you understand?
Yeah.
And make sure that I'm following this process. And I've been a victim of the same. So I'm speaking from experience. So for you to really grow your business, understand what you want to do back home, be invested in it. Be intentional.
Wow. Mr. Tony Otoa, we're diving into our last part of this interview. The CEO Bench is very grateful, first of all, to have you today. And we want to run you through to a last set of questions, which are pretty much directed to where you are right now as the CEO. And our time is fast spent, but we'll run through this quickly. Number one, who do you look up to for inspiration or mentorship as Mr. Toa?
Mr. Toa, I have several mentors, business mentors, and I have leadership mentors. I have spiritual mentors. So my spiritual mentor, of course, is my parish priest in Mbuya. My business mentor is Agase Kalala. And for my leadership mentorship, most of them are dead, actually. There are many, but they're dead. You know, people like Che Guevara, people like Nelson Mandela, people like Miles Monroe. I mean, there are people who epitomize the discourse on leadership or what a true leader should be. So those are the people that I look forward to.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what is that one decision you wish you didn't make in your journey of change and transformation as an individual?
I think, I wouldn't say I don't have any, but I would say...
that one decision, when you look back, you're like, I shouldn't have made this decision.
That one decision. I don't really have that one decision. I mean, I always think that my decisions, whether good or bad, have been the reason that I am today who I am. You see, so it might have been bad at the time, but I think I learned from it to who I am today. So it ends up being a good thing. So I can't really pinpoint. I won't lie, Eddie. I would be a liar to tell you that if you had prepared me a month ago, I think I would have gone through my life story and come up with something. But for now,
you want to let that one go.
Yeah.
Mr. Tonotoa, how do you keep your team quite very motivated despite conflict and obstacles as a CEO?
Make everyone be a leader in their own way.
How do you do that?
Work all in respect of each other. Work all in recognition of each other's strengths and weaknesses. But most important of all, always know that everyone has a play or a part to play, rather. Everyone. everyone. And the moment you do that, the moment you give people that ability, they will give you 100%.
And Mr. Tony Otoa, the CEO bench would like to know, what are those most important attributes of successful leaders today that you follow, that you walk in as a CEO of Stanbic Business Incubator?
I think there are only two. One, people. They're people-oriented. Number one, people-oriented. Number two, they're always vulnerable, meaning that they are willing and seeking to learn every day. Two things. Vulnerability in the sense that you want to learn and become a better person. And number two, people.
Wow. This interview is coming to an end, and we decided that when you send your comment or kisses, we're definitely going to read and we're going to get back. I have already seen some people who sent questions today, and I want to bring this question to you, Mr. Toa. One of them is, can you please ask Mr. Toa what excites him very much every day he wakes up in the morning? He's always heightened. It's like the sugar levels are always up. What excites you? Somebody wants to know from France.
The fact that I have another day given to me, another day to make a difference, that alone is exciting. We're in a COVID time right now where some people are struggling to breathe. Just this air, just this oxygen. They have to get onto the fact that I can actually wake up and inhale and exhale.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I be excited? It's another chance to be a better person than I was yesterday. And it's also another chance that God has given me, saying, that's another chance for you. You go and run your day. That's what excites me.
Wow. This question is coming from my brother from another mother who used to work at UTL. Bernard says, could you please ask Mr. Tony Otoa during the CEO bench, what are you looking forward to in your new assignment as the CEO of Stanbic Business Incubator? And where would be your next step?
I think I'm just looking forward to creating an impact and creating value. And of course, I don't see myself staying there for a long time. I think there are better people with better ideas who can come and take over from me. You know, this whole idea of arrivism where you assume it's your thing and you want to hang your coat and assume the office is yours. No, I just want to do the best I can, create a lot of impact, and let someone else with more energy, more drive, more ideas come and take the play. It's always important as leaders to understand that the best thing you can ever leave your society, your community, is a successor.
Wow. Mr. Eddie Okela, I want you to ask Tony Otoa when you finally have him the CEO bench. Of course, 2020 was a difficult year. 2019 was a difficult year. Many people's businesses died and some closed shop. But could you ask Mr. Tony Otoa, what is the best thing that has happened to him this year, 2021, so far, and how is he managing from the man who speaks about business?
I think it's the fact that we've seen businesses come back to life. That is what has really excited me. But also the fact that new players have come on board. That's just a good thing. You know, the fact that players have understood that in crisis lies opportunity. I'll tell you something interesting. In China, or in Mandarin, there is no word called crisis. There's no crisis, doesn't exist. Crisis is actually broken down in two words. It's, I think, Jiang Yu, which means danger, and then the other one, I think, is because of the W, meaning opportunity. So when people are shouting crisis, crisis, Chinaman is saying opportunity, opportunity. You understand? And so many businesses have seen that opportunity in this crisis. And I think that is the beauty about what has happened. And it also gave us a level ground, a level ground for people who were not known to also now get to be known. Change of the status quo. That's exciting.
Wow. And of course, coming from you, the last question to Mr. Tony Otoa is a question that comes from a gentleman based in the United Kingdom. He says, what's the most important thing the viewers and the followers of the CEO bench who nominated you should be able to know about you, Mr. Tony Otoa? I'm one of the people who nominated you because I really wanted to have you, share your story on the CEO bench. This is your number 24th vote that came from the UK, coming from the one man called Dennis.
What should they know about me?
Yes.
I think I am a man of so many trades. I'm a hustler, like I said, tat boy, DJ, news guy, but I'm just a lover of life. I think the fact that we are living, the fact that we're able to be given a chance to live, I shouldn't say I shouldn't be a love of life. I am a love of life. Yeah.
Wow. Mr. Tonotoa, our time is up.
Thank you.
And this is your last question. What are those 5 qualities of a good leader that you would like to leave us with today on the CEO bench?
Okay, I think I won't really go into 5. I'll just go into about, I think, 3, which I think are very, very crucial.
Key 1.
People-oriented. Like I said, vulnerable, always willing to learn. And number 3, always listening. You see, the problem with us is that leadership has just been about speaking to the people. We've forgotten the tendencies of leadership, which is really about listening. True leaders listen. And that is where wisdom comes from. And that is how you know how to take care of your people and how to steer that ship, like you mentioned before.
Well, the CEO bench has come to an end. Mr. Tonotoa, parting shot from you, and I'm going to put you on the spot. There are 5 leadership approaches that we have. 1, transformational leadership approach. 2, autocratic leadership approach. And 3, laissez-faire leadership approach. 4, we're looking at transactional leadership approach. And 5 is what we call a transformative leadership approach. Which one do you use? Pick 3 and tell us why as you close the show and you're parting short.
You know, leadership is quite interesting. You need to actually pick, and you might need to pick from all of those to really blend. But I'll be honest with you. The moment you start making leadership more of transactional or more of where people assume that for them to do a task they have to suck up to you, that is already a failure in your leadership. It's very transformational, very much people-oriented, very much about growth.
Why not laissez-faire? You said you can pick from a
laissez-faire is not your kind of lead. I mean, you see, let me tell you about laissez-faire.
Yeah.
And I'll end with this as the best example. When you see sheep are laissez-faire. There's no leader in there. Everyone is a leader. They're all over the place. When it's about walking into a cliff, they all just follow that one sheep and they all fall into the cliff or the river.
Yes.
The lion, on the other hand, that's a lion. It's a leader in the animal kingdom. It's transformational. And that's why you'll find that an army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a faith.
Yeah.
So let's be very honest about this thing and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong. Just like a lion. You know, when a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion. They are heavier than the lion. They are more intelligent than the lion. They are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tonotoa, thank you very much for coming to the CEO bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address now as you look into the camera and close the show?
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO bench has come to an end, and of course, thank you very much, Mr. Tonotoa, for coming to the show.
Thank you.
And looking forward to having you to the show. I'm sorry, guys, we're going to bring the show to an end, but somebody says, can we have a round 2 of that gentleman coming to the show? Tony, if there's a vote for you to come back to the show, would you come back? They
Most
want you to
definitely.
talk about the leadership more and the business. How do you incubate business from 0 to something?
Most definitely.
All right, so we're going to structure that to the CEO bench, and of course, we'll ask Mr. Tonotoa to come back to share that on the show. Until next week, we want to say thank you very much for being a part of the CEO bench, growing bigger and better every single day. And of course, please subscribe and be part of the show. If you want to reach out to Mr. Tonotoa, look out for him at the Stanbic Business Incubator Limited. You will be inspired. Until next week, the CEO bench. It's a wrap from us here. Until then, Edio Killer, Tony Otoa, signing out.
Welcome to this week's program. Our speaker is Paula Abru from New York Summer Stage.
Like a new beginning, you remind me of something else, something that I used to feel, something like what I've been missing. Oh, like what I've been missing. Oh, something like what I've been missing. Oh, so long I didn't know.
Hi, I'm Paula Abreu, and I'm the Associate Director of Programming at City Parks Foundation Summer Stage in New York. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. City Parks Foundation produces the largest free outdoor performing arts festival in New York City, Summer Stage. We produce events in 15 parks across the city and Central Park. We're the only festival producing events in all 5 boroughs of the city. Our events range from music, dance, spoken word, theater, opera, family programming for all ages to all New Yorkers in the city. We are the largest festival, and we're proud to also produce events related to education, sports, and community building with City Parks Foundation. New York City is a very diverse city in terms of culture, and I mean it's hard to think of how to explain how people come together to celebrate culture. I think music is an universal language, and dance and art forms are universal languages of how people express. So I think that's a thread and connecting point that makes people join and celebrate and be together in the same space, sharing the same experience. But also I've noticed in my years in New York City, and I should say I'm from Brazil originally, a big city as well, Rio de Janeiro. But it's different. It's a very different city in terms of geography, demographic, and how the city is divided, the urban areas. So I think what is unique to New York, at least comparing to Rio and to other places where I lived or visited, is that there are many different pockets of culture, and sometimes they don't come together. They're very segregated. But when there's a big event and when there's a big music concert, you do see a very mixed crowd and mixed ages and demographics and ethnic groups together enjoying the same music or the same experience. So it's a beautiful thing to see, even though it's a city with many geographical pockets of culture. Summer Stage started 36 years ago in New York City, 1986. This year is technically our 36th year. It started only in Central Park, and then a few years later, we started doing shows in all across the city, in all the boroughs. And I think it started with a mission to, first of all, to elevate Central Park as a space where people felt safe and they could come and hang out in their backyard, because it's a park very central to New York. Of course, it's at the heart of the city. But then when we expanded to the other boroughs, we were thinking of the communities that don't receive arts and culture the same way that maybe people in Manhattan or people that live close to culture hubs that they experience. So we wanted to bring culture to their backyard. We wanted to bring artists that wouldn't perform near their houses otherwise, and we wanted to do that for free. So that's been a mission of Summer Stage since its inception. And we're truly the only festival that does this. We bring culture and artists to their backyard, to the backyards of New Yorkers. And if I may say, I mean, the definition of culture, it varies, and the definition of entertainment and fun and what people want to experience is very broad. But I think what we bring is it's either something that identify with a specific ethnic group. For example, New York is made of such diverse ethnic groups. To give an example, we have a specific Ghanaian community that lives in the Bronx, and for the last 2 years, we've been bringing Ghanaian artists to the Bronx, and the Ghanaian community feel really encouraged to come out and celebrate their culture. The same thing happens with Haitians that live in Brooklyn, or with Mexicans or Latinos who live in Staten Island. So we bring culture that they will relate to, and they will celebrate artists that would not play here otherwise. Or we also celebrate the cultures that are specific to New York, or the genres, I may say, like hip hop, salsa, jazz. We are proud to bring some of the artists who are born in New York or who made their career here, and then they went to the world to become big artists, and they come back and play in our stages across the city. To give an example again, La India, who's a big salsa star, she played back in the South Bronx, where there's a big Puerto Rican community, and it was a very emotional concert. Or when we had, let me think, we have so many hip hop artists playing the different boroughs of New York, and they usually don't go deep in the neighborhood to play. For example, we had Public Enemy in Brownsville, in Brooklyn. So they usually don't go to these spaces to play. They are high-paying artists, and they play big venues. So with Summer Stage, they go to the communities and play to their fans in the communities many times where they came from. So this is really special.
1, 2, 3, 4. Collaborations are key to what we do as a festival. As a free festival, and I work for City Parks Foundation, it's a nonprofit, we depend on collaborations and partners who want to see the same outcome, the same shows that we want, who wants to bring the same artists that we want to the city. And we partner with a lot of what we call culture institutions or companies who want to bring or want to expand the culture here in New York or the US. So for example, we partnered, every year we partner with the French export office. As you know, they're big supporters of music. But in Africa, we've partnered before. I can't remember by heart, but I think the South African Consulate has supported us in shows in the past. I've visited many different spaces in Africa that I've loved, and I would love to partner in the future. Sometimes it is hard to create a collaboration partnership that makes sense for all the sides, but for Summer Stage, it is important to always keep the doors open and try to forge these partnerships.
Oh, I should mention, I mentioned the Ghanaian shows that we've been doing in the South Bronx. There is a festival, it's a local festival called Ghana Fest, and we've been partnering with them with concerts in the Bronx in the last 2 years. So these collaborations are very important, not only for financial resources, but also to reach to the communities. That Summer Stage is a big festival with a broad outreach. Sometimes it's hard to speak specifically to the communities that they would want to target for a specific show or specific concert. So the partners working with the local communities or with the local cultures will have more of a deep connection that we can benefit from when we partner with them. Free is at the core of Summer Stage and has always been. It's something that we will not change. It's been the very core of our mission. I think, to me, Free reflects it's a democratic space. It's a space that is accessible to all. That is, like, there's no judgment. It's equality. And so to me, it's very important that we remain free, because that's the message that we want to go out. That we are for everyone. We're not creating barriers. We're not prioritizing one group versus the other. So it's important to be accessible. It's also important to say that in the last couple of years in the U.S., that with all the social justice movements that have been going on and civil rights movements, that doesn't relate directly to the fact that we are free, but I think we are a space also we don't specifically promote political or specific messages, but we want to give a platform to artists who promote the message of equality and social justice and democratic rights. So by being free, we're also giving the chance for people to receive the message from these artists with no barriers directly. I should say, although I'm from Rio, I lived in Africa it wasn't for too long, it was about 6 months. I lived in Angola, in Luanda, and I fell in love with the culture there. This is almost 20 years ago, and it was incredible. I had a deep experience of culture, revealing in front of me, because it's so similar to the culture in Brazil, at the same time so different. And I realized back then how rich and how of a foundation everything coming out of Africa is. Music, from music to literature to fashion to everything, and to our food and culinary. So when I developed a special passion for anything that comes out of Africa, especially music. That is my passion. But in general, I think when I go to Africa, I visit. I've been to a couple conferences there already, music conferences. I usually look for things that will surprise me in a sense that is music that is being made right now, but that don't forget the ancestors and the culture that came for many, many years and sets the foundations for so many things that we have in all over the world, not only Africa, right? So I look for things that will surprise me, but not forget the source and the roots where they come from. Was at the center of the pandemic for a while, right, last year, and it was pretty scary. We, at the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't know, of course, none of us knew what was gonna happen. And in terms of, I know many of my colleagues and artists especially, they suffered a lot because they lost gigs, they lost jobs. And we at Summer Stage and my colleagues in the festival world we're lucky to be able to resist and keep standing and produce some virtual events. And we did a lot of them. We did about 100 virtual events, from last year until this year. And we had to learn a lot of skills that we didn't have. But I have to say, I think for us as a team and for me personally, I think it was the silver lining was able to learn different skills and to work in a different medium and to appreciate a workspace that I didn't think I would before. And moving forward, I think what changed, we're gonna all have to work in both worlds now, the virtual and in person. It's gonna be different. It's not gonna be back to what it was for sure. I think by essence, what we do is to gather people, right? So I think the first thought of safety and health guidelines. Of course, we were a safe environment before, but now we're thinking of different guidelines and different issues that we weren't thinking before. But also, like the experience that we've all been through, it reflects on the artists and the art the artists are making and how we're putting this on stage and how we're the experience that we're providing. And to me, my passion is that to see the connection between artists and audience. And I think after 1 year of all of us being through this, it's never going to be the same. And in terms of as a producer, we also, like I said before, it's more valuable for us to make sure that we have digital components as well, in addition to the in-person experience. How that's going to translate, if it's live stream, if it's captured to do a rebroadcast later, or if it's a virtual combined with in-person, that's still questions. There's still questions about it, but it's not going to be like it was before. Before I think we all know this. It's going to be hard, but we all grew and learned from this experience. I think in a world where we cannot be together, we'll have to think of ways to celebrate and to feel like a sense of confraternization that is as fulfilling as it was before, or if it's fulfilling. It's a fulfilling experience. It's not something that right now in New York City, I must say that we are in a moment that it's probably different than many places in the world, and I know it's different from Uganda right now, and I hope all places evolve to being like we are at this moment. We dropped all the restrictions, we dropped the lockdown, we're basically back to the way we were before in terms of in terms of self-distancing and all the health guidelines. So right now we're just producing events with people in parks that can gather the way they used to gather before. It is hard to imagine a world that will go back to distancing. I can say that the first month, we're producing shows right now, and the first month of shows that we didn't have that many, but we had a couple where we had to implement social distancing. It was very challenging. It's challenging to keep people distanced, to keep the room organized, and it's not what we are about. We're about confraternizing and celebrating, and I don't know. I hope that we don't need to do that in the future, to be honest. I think the artistic community is one of the communities that suffered the most with this pandemic, not only for the lack of jobs and opportunities and the cancellation of many concerts they had, but also they are very sensitive professionals and human beings connected to the environment and what's going on socially around us. I've seen different artists react in different ways. I personally admire artists who are not social justice, but they're active changers, that they implement or they promote change themselves, and they speak to the reality, speak to what's going on around them. So I've seen many artists create new music or create new artwork that is a reflection to what's going on. And I think what we all need, and especially artists, is to feel again that they're part of the fabric of society, to feel again that they are loved, and we are one community, that we can hug and gather in one space and celebrate life. And I've seen a lot of artists either doing work talking about that or expressing that they miss that and they are looking forward to do it. And I'm very curious to see what's going to come out in the next year also in terms of music and artwork. I'm very excited to see. I think we're going to see some of the most brilliant works coming out next after this horrible experience that we've been through. First of all, I would love to visit Doa Doa and Uganda. Who knows, maybe next year I'll be there. I would love to visit you guys and to learn in person, firsthand, of what's going on there and what kind of music is being made. I would love to learn all that. But the message that I would like to leave for everyone is please be hopeful. We're going to go through this, and New York City is a place that welcomes all cultures, and I've been dying to work with people from Uganda and Eastern Africa, so hopefully we'll be able to collaborate and work together soon. Be thankful for what you have. Be thankful to be alive. Celebrate life and culture and the importance of art around you. Oh yes, I've known Faisal for a long time. I think the work he does, his persistence is brilliant, and I'm a true fan of what he does. And thank you for thinking of me and for thinking of Summer Stage to be featured in this program. And I hope to keep growing our relationship and collaboration. And I hope to be in Uganda soon and to see you guys in New York City.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of Doa Doa 2021, and it is our virtual docu-series. As you've heard from our speaker of this week, I would like to introduce you to the artist that you'll get to know, and that is Deborah Asimwe. Deborah Asimwe is one of Uganda's celebrated playwrights and also a stage director and producer. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Deborah Asimwe.
Run, Silver! Maria has a knife, she wants to stab you. Maria, I can't allow you. Let bygones be bygones. Silver's a friend. He will always be. Run, Silver! Run for your life!
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. My full name is Asimwe Deborah Kawe, and I am a playwright. I also produce theater, and I once in a while perform, and I once in a while direct for stage. So in a nutshell, that's who I am. So I was born and raised in rural Uganda, and at some point in my life, I lived with my grandmother, I think from the age of 9, who was a storyteller. And the tradition in our home was that she would tell us stories as her grandchildren, and in the subsequent nights would retell them. And in most cases, she would actually ask us to perform them. And I really attribute my entry into theater and performance from her. So in school, when I went to school, I was very lucky that I grew up at a time when storytelling was so integral in lower primary section. So I remember we used to have sessions to tell stories, which in the language that my mother speaks, which is the language that I grew up speaking, Runyankore, we call it okugana, to tell stories. And so each child would be asked to stand in front of the class and tell a story. And so from there, I really found myself very, very interested in the art of storytelling, which really where theater falls. Theater is all about telling stories. And as I continued with my education and was introduced to literature, I came across plays and playwrights that I really found myself interested in. African playwrights from elsewhere. And then when I finished my A-level, I found myself, and I'm using the words found myself, studying music, dance, and drama at Makerere University. So what has my journey been like? I think I kind of hinted on the fact that in Uganda, in most schools in Uganda, and in Uganda as a society, choosing to be an artist for one's rest of life is something that some people shun upon and question because I think it is Ugandan specific, but also kind of global. The arts are not something that one can think about when they are talking or thinking about monetary success. Some people can become very successful for being artists, but others may not necessarily be successful. And in our context in Uganda, when a parent takes their child to school, the expectation is that this child is going to be successful, and in most cases, economically successful. So I remember one of the questions that my mom asked me when we were thinking about whether I should study music, dance, and drama or not was, she said, so who are you going to depend on for the rest of your life? And I really hear her. I understand her, why she was very worried about me. And so in terms of my artistic journey, I have always known that writing or theater is a passion first and foremost, other than being something that I gain from economically. And I have been fortunate in the sense that I have written plays, they've been staged, and I have earned by doing that. Of course, I supplement that to either teach at universities or write commissioned work. But I have to say that when I write for passion, that has been my greatest joy. When I see something that I really feel I need to say something about, and I put it into a story that can be performed on stage, that has been my greatest passion. And I have written many plays. I think I've been very, very fortunate to have had my work produced in different places, on different continents. So I really, in terms of being a playwright, I feel I've been very lucky and blessed that my work has been read and seen and studied at different universities across the globe. I've had work here, produced here at the Uganda National Culture Center, which also houses the National Theatre. I have had my work produced in other Eastern African countries. And so I feel like in terms of my artistic journey, I'm very lucky that my work I've not written to just shelve. I have written and people have seen what I have written and read what I have written.
What do you want to catch? My nose! You have a nose? Where's your nose? Right here. Where? Right here on my face. You have a face? Everybody has a face. Where? Right here. I do not see it.
What motivates me is, so there's this thing that I think artists may have in common, that when a story wants to come out, it will tug at you, it will nag you as an artist until you actually let it out. So that has been one of my motivations. When a story wants to be told and wants me to tell it in a particular way, it will not give me peace until I have told it. That's one. The second one is I feel that there are not so many people who get to have a platform to create, to tell stories, or to be gifted that way. And I think I ask myself, if I have been gifted in this area, why shouldn't I use this gift that God has given me? So that is the second motivation. And then the third motivation is when I see something that I feel must be known by other people, it feels like a responsibility. If I have identified something and I really feel that this is something that other people need to know and to begin to question, then it motivates me to put it out in the public and invite whoever is interested into a conversation. Because the kind of work that I do and the kind of plays that I write have themes that I feel need to be talked about. And so for me, writing is a way of inviting other people into the kind of conversation that's in my head. I put it out there so that it can be public, and I invite people to enter into a conversation with me and with the story that I'm telling. I believe in God. I don't know what more you want me to say. I believe that there is a supernatural being, for sure. I know that the force that you're explaining, the way you have explained it, for me, I give that God, the name God. I know that other people may give it other names, and that's why I was saying that I totally believe that there is a supernatural being. And I could say it in so many different ways, in different languages that I speak, but because we are now communicating in English, I'm going to say that I do believe in God. And for that force that you're explaining, that you're talking about, for me, I refer to it as God. Who is that person that I would love to collaborate with and have never collaborated with? Honestly, I don't think I have an answer for you. And I'm the type who really loves collaborations. And some of my work have emerged from collaborations. But I don't know, I think I need to think about that. But I don't think there's one person, one particular person I would love to collaborate with. Honestly, I think I need to think about that. So my work is very different and very diverse. And usually my work dictates space where it can be performed. I've written work that, for example, would not do well in a conventional space, like, for example, the main auditorium of the National Theatre here. So that's a very interesting question, because I don't think that my work can be confined into a specific space. But I can also say that I've always hoped that at some point one of my plays will end up on the Broadway in New York. I've had my work off Broadway, but I hope that I can create a script that can end up on Broadway. Interestingly, the lockdown came at a time when I had just had a baby. So I was in my own open lockdown. So that actually was great in the sense that it really allowed me to spend time with my baby. However, I beg to disagree with you that the creative minds have been in lockdown. I think people have been creating, just that the physical spaces have been locked does not mean that the creatives haven't been creating. And thankfully, the digital spaces allowed for some creatives, those who can access them and can afford them, have allowed for them to continue sharing their work and their creation. And so when my baby was a little bit older, around 4 months, 5 months, I started writing again, and I think I was again really blessed because I was commissioned to write something specifically for a digital platform. And I'm actually working on a new script that is specifically meant for online. It's an online script. It's not meant for stage. And the other thing is some of my work was adapted for podcasts. So I was still able to be creative, but of course not as open and as available as when there was no lockdown. But I think also because I was busy raising a baby, that in itself made me stay back a lot in terms of being creative. So you can reach out to me on my website, which is asimwekawe.org, and Asimwe is ASIIMWE, Kawe KAWE. So asimwekawe.org, or you can reach out to me via my Facebook page, which is Asimwe Deborah Gashuji. just put Asimwe Deborah and the last name will come, because that one is quite complicated. Or you can find me on Twitter at Adikdax, so ADKDAKS, which are the other, I'm kind of forgetting but I think those are enough. Those are enough for now.
Thank you so much for joining this week's show, Doa Doa 2021. I hope you had some fun and got some inspiration. If you have any comment, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave your comment, or our Facebook page, Twitter or Instagram. We'll definitely get back to you. We are very grateful, and until next week, I remain your host, Faizo Kiwewa from Bayimba and the Doa Doa team. Keep it Doa Doa 2021.
Hello and welcome to House of Talent. This is the Coffee Break Show with me, Emmanuel. How has your week been? How is your day going? How is your night going? Depending on where you're watching around the world. This is the show that is all about coffee, everything you need to know about coffee. Basically from where it starts in the garden to where it ends up in your cup. They call it from tree to cup. My name is Emmanuel and this is House of Talent. Remember, you can catch us on our social media handles. You can watch the shows there, or you can go to our website at houseoftalentug.com. Today in the house, I have two gentlemen. Last time we had a lady in the house, so we thought we'd balance it up this week. So I have two gentlemen in the house. One you have seen, he has been here before. He calls himself an apostle of coffee, and we have also someone new on the show. I'll let them introduce themselves so that you know. Let's broadcast them out to the world. Gentlemen, you're very welcome to House of Talent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for honoring our invite. Of course, Isaac, you have been here before. And
yeah, I'm always here.
I know that there are a lot of people, you know, out there watching you and excited to hear what you have to say. You know, a lot of wisdom that you bring to the show, a lot of wisdom you bring to the coffee business. And with me here also we have Charles Kasibante. Yeah, someone we haven't seen before, but I do believe there's a lot of wisdom that is going to come from him. So, guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's always good to have you guys. And like I said, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. I might introduce you guys, and I won't do you know, the good that needs to be done. So I'll start with you, Isaac, please.
Yes, I'm Isaac Roxanne. Yeah. Most people call me Apostle $100 because of the coffee gospel I preach. I'm someone who likes preaching the gospel of God and also the coffee gospel. As you can see today, I'm wearing a shirt saying how to win my love or how to win my heart. Buy me coffee, Make me coffee, big coffee. So if you want to win my love, these are the procedures you have to follow.
Interesting.
So we are trying to do something like promote coffee, the gospel through the shirts we are wearing, like the way. So these shirts you can get them at Brew Plus in case you're a fan of promoting the coffee gospel, spreading the coffee gospel. So feel free to come at the office to get your shirt.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Charles, I'll let you go next. Please let us know who you are.
I'm happy to be here. By names of Kasvante Charles, a barista at Commercial Foods. One is Chirichireka, another one is in Kolobi. I was mentored. This is my mentor, my teacher. I was in the school between 2018 to 2019. I've been in the industry for more than now. It's coming to 3 years. So I'm so glad to be here.
Well, it's very good to have you. Usually for someone new on the show, we always ask them how their coffee journey started, because it's a very rare thing in Uganda to hear someone say, you know what, I'm in the coffee business, I'm a barista. Someone don't even know what the word barista means, okay? So Charles, for you, what was that thing that drew you in towards coffee? Did someone come and preach the gospel to you and say, you know what, you need to start getting into coffee? What was that thing that really pulled you into the coffee business?
One of them, first of all, it was love. The love that my brother had and Mr. Isaac. Yes, it's the first thing that pushed me to come in this industry. Yes, it was. I admired them, what they were doing. I liked the art on the cup. I liked the taste, because when I came, it was so good to be in the industry, and they were so enjoying. So I wanted to be someone. I wanted to be someone who can stand somewhere and they said that is Barista Charles. And I'm making it. The journey is so enjoying. The journey is so enjoying.
Well, so it's good to know that, you know, that journey that your brother and Isaac really had an influence. I think a couple of other guests who have been here, their brothers have had an influence, okay? I don't know why sisters are not influencing people to
We shall have to look into that.
Shall have to look into that. So Isaac, I know you've been here before, so but for the people who don't know you, I believe that there are people here watching for the first time. Let us know. So what drew you towards coffee? Because it's something rare, okay? But now it seems like you have grown so much, you have mentored people. But what was that initial thing that also drew you towards coffee?
Actually, I always tell people that a friend, if you have a good friend, not any other friend, we have bad days that, let's go and watch football. That may not be your friend. You just, it's football making you guys to come together. Apart from football, after football is done, everyone is scattering to do their own thing. So we have good friends. Now a good friend is someone who is going to look at your situation and tell you, man, there's this gig here. Can you manage to adopt to work? Can you manage to learn? So I learned coffee through a friend also. He's like a brother to me. So this guy also introduced me to his boss. At the end of the day, the boss liked me because I had that engineering part of it, and I also had adopted the new culture of coffee with me. So on the other side, I'm an engineer. On this side, I'm also a coffee gospel preacher.
Well, it's interesting.
So that is how he drove me into the coffee business, because he saw me as someone who could catch up quickly because I'm a fast learner. So, and at the end of the day, I never disappointed. So that is my journey.
So right now in your life, how do you balance being an engineer and working in the coffee? Or you totally said, you know what, I think this is the end of engineering. I should just move towards coffee. So are you balancing the two things?
Actually, in the coffee business, it gives you also time to do other things. For example, one thing I love about the coffee business is that people do set cafe, and I'm one of the people who set cafes for people. At the end of the day, they will ask you, how would you want my interior to be like? So that's when the engineering bit of it comes about. I'm like, if you want the engineering bit, then I'm going to do another quotation.
So you get to make twice the money.
You get the point. So at the end of the day, I love it in coffee, doing engineering, at the same time also preaching the coffee gospel, training. So I'm like, how do they say? Universal charger.
Interesting. So Charles, to you, Is there anything else you do outside coffee, or you've also just decided to concentrate basically on that?
I myself, I have like a company, a smoker company, cleaning company. So when I'm not in coffee, I'm in cleaning.
Okay.
But I love coffee and I love the other job. So I'm not only doing coffee, because before joining coffee, I was cleaning somewhere.
Okay.
But I got inspired by my two brothers and I decided to join this industry.
Yeah, I love how it says company. Something small on the side that is trying to grow. Well, that's interesting that you guys actually have lives outside coffee. Most times people think that when you get into something, you forget about your other part of life. But we have an engineer, we have Charles, who's I believe you want to build a very big empire when it comes to cleaning. It's actually it's actually a very important thing, because if you go to someone and say, okay, you know what, let's say you go for a gig, and that day the barista at the gig, and they're looking for someone else to clean after the party, so you offer the extra service. So
actually, I always use his services. And when I go to cafes, there's fumigation, and in cleaning, there's also that part of fumigation. So you see, that is the beauty of being in the coffee world. You don't get limited to do other things also. Regardless, this is there, but also at the end of the day, when I get a gig and I'm like, Charles, there's this cafe, it needs fumigation, he'll rush. And at the end of the day, I can say, he's also a barista, he can train. In case you need his services, I can recommend. So the boss is like, oh, really? This is
so it's always a win-win situation when it comes to this. Okay, that's interesting. Let's get a bit away from work for just 1 second. I believe that outside work, we also have other lives, So what are you guys passionate about? I know there are people who are passionate about football. There are people who are passionate about sports, riding bikes and different things. So what are you passionate about, Isaac?
Like me, Isaac, actually, research. That is number one. Research about engineering and also coffee. The other thing is I love watching movies and animations. Because I learn a lot from them. Movies. Not every movie. I specify movies. So I like watching swimming, going to the beach. That I also like playing football, but I don't watch football. I just like to go there, sweat a bit, come out, and you go and bathe and you sleep. So, but I don't like watching football. Most of my time I spend them on my laptop doing research about the field, because I'm in the business where I'm preaching a gospel. So I have to have more knowledge, be up to date about what is happening and what is trending. So most of my time I'm always in the office, either watching a movie or just doing research.
Okay.
Because what I like best.
Interesting. What about you, Charles? What are you passionate about?
100% football.
It's always interesting, out of 10 people, you'll find someone who watches football.
Yeah, of course.
I like football from my childhood to where I am. And watching film, movies, part of it. But for me, when there is a match somewhere, I definitely first go and watch that football.
So which team do you support? I hope it's not Arsenal, but let's move on with that.
It's on. It's Arsenal.
It's so funny that last week after the Arsenal game, there were a lot of memes coming out, and was saying that the federation should allow Arsenal to have 2 goalkeepers because because the way things are going for Arsenal now, it's
not just stories.
It's not just stories, but it's interesting to always know that there are other things that we're passionate about in life, and these are the things that make you a wholesome person. When you pick different parts of your life and put it together, it makes you a wholesome person. And I believe that it's this kind of personality that you bring to the coffee business, because you have to deal with very different kind of people, very different kinds of situations. Imagine you get your barista at a certain gig, you get this customer who's passionate about Arsenal. So you end up making different connections like that. So to Isaac, we know that you're the CEO at Brew Plus Lab, which has brought out very many students, Charles inclusive. What has your experience been at Brew Plus you know, with all these years of experience and with the different students you've had, what has been your experience so far?
Actually, one thing you have to know as someone who trains, it's not easy to train. And it's not easy to teach. He can tell you that, because I know at some point he's at the cafe and the boss is saying, Charles, I brought in some new member, can you train them? So he can even testify about that. So at the end of the day, it's not easy. One thing you have to learn is like everyone that comes to the lab or the training academy has different characters and also come with a different mindset, because now you have like now I have a doctrine I set and the syllabus I set to everyone that comes, whether you're from another coffee school, but here you come and learn the Brew Plus culture, coffee culture. Because at the end of the day, I don't know how the other doctrines are being set, but here and my team, we sit down, we set a curriculum that guys have to follow. Whether you're saying that I know, you have to follow. Now, you find someone coming in and telling you, Isaac, I want to learn the machine. At the end of the day, in Brew Plus, before you want to learn the machine, you sit down for the papers. We give you a paper, you sit. If you pass, then we shall know you know what you are going to do. Yes, you are qualifying for the machine. If you fail the paper, we come back and we tell you the truth is you don't have the knowledge about coffee, and you need this knowledge, and it moves along with the practical bit of it. So those are our doctrines. We like the money that you bring to us, but if you are not ready to adopt our doctrines, what is the use? Because at the end of the day, when you're going out there, you are representing that school that you are from. Not only you that now I'm a barrister, but you are representing that school you are from. You get the point. So it hasn't been easy, but it's just that I have my own, how can I say, how I work my magic to see that someone adopts the culture of Brew Plus. Yes.
Interesting. Charles, you were a student at one point, and now you transitioned to a barista, and now you're also a teacher. So you teach different people at your different stations. How was it transitioning from being a student into being a barista? Let's say your first gig, were you scared? Like people say, I had butterflies in my stomach. Did you make a bad cup of coffee and think to yourself, you know what, I need to go back to school? How was that transitioning for you?
Remember when you are from the school, you have to go to the field and start working. But first of all, if you're passionate about what you're going to do, I believe in all work we do mistakes. So my first experience at work was when I reached at work. You have to be confident when you're doing something, even if it's wrong. In our industry, you have to be confident. Once you're confident, you give support of it. So my first cup to make was for a customer, and I made a mistake on it because the waitress came and gave me a cappuccino single. I made it and gave it to her. Then she told me, no, the guest wanted a flower on it. I could not make a flower. So I said, what I've given you is what is supposed to go. I cannot make another cup of coffee. Please take that to a customer. If he calls me, I'll explain why. So that's how I started. But to me, when you love what you're doing, even when you make mistakes, still you will support that mistake and it will go. So I have love for the coffee, for the industry. I have love for what I'm doing, and when I'm on the station, trust me, I don't want anyone to disturb me. Even if you are the boss, once I'm in my bar, it is my turn. It's your area. Wait for my shift to get done, then you can bring me a coffee.
Interesting. If you're watching us, this is House of Talent, the coffee break. We are having some fun with Isaac and Charles here. Charles telling us about his first experience, and he was supposed to make a certain cup of coffee, which he did not do, but these are the different experiences that we have. So if you're a barista and it's your first day of the job, relax. You got this. Have some confidence. We have you here at the coffee break, and we're going to take a break right now. But when we return, we still have that part of we're going to brew a cup of coffee, which I believe is going to be very tasty. And we'll also be talking about how can we set up a successful coffee business, which I think very many people are trying to get into right now. So we'll take a break right now. This is the coffee break on House of Talent Television. Welcome back to the Coffee Break on House of Talent Television. My name is Atengi Manuel, and this is the show that is all about coffee. Remember, if you know someone who's a barista, who's a kappa, who grows coffee, and you think they need to be on the show, you can always contact us. Let us know. We'll bring them here so that we can always change information. As you know, people in the coffee industry, it's a growing industry, and we need to support each other. But if you just love the show, you can always tune into House of Talent Television. We'll be giving you guys the best information on coffee. We'll be teaching you guys how to brew different cups of coffee, and basically just have a good time like we're having right now in the studio with Isaac and Charles. You know, Charles telling us about his experience and him watching football, supporting Arsenal. For Arsenal supporters, I think you need a lot of coffee for basically what's going on in your camp. Yeah, but it's really interesting. I know both of you have, you know, you were students once, then you passed out, and you know now, Isaac, you run Brew Plus, sorry, and Charles, you're also doing your thing. And there are people out there who want to know, okay, if I want to set up a successful coffee business, okay, where do I start? Like from conception until, you know, I serve my first cup, you know. Isaac, where do we start?
Now, where do you start is one. As the CEO of the project, let's say you are the boss, you have to have a good team. Even before you have a good team, you have to have one, knowledge about what you're going to do. Now, this is the challenge we are finding in our field, that most of the bosses, because just someone has money, he saw, like, let's say the boss of Cafe Javas putting up a restaurant, so he's like, let me also go, I have my room there, let me make it a coffee shop. No, things don't just work like that. You just have to, one, you have the money, right? But the other thing, you need knowledge about what you are entering into. You get it's like buying a car and you want to drive it, but you have never driven before, or you have never been in a driving school. So at the end of the day, you're going to crash.
True.
Now, I always tell the bosses, do you know or do you have any knowledge about this field? If you don't have, are you willing to learn? 2, the team you're going to work with. Now, the restaurant business or the hotel industry is too big. We have different sectors. We have the managerial sector, where the managers fall. We have the supervision sector, where the supervisors fall. We have the waiters, we have the barmen, we have like the barmen. We have the baristas, we have the kitchen. In the kitchen you'll find the head chef, we have the pastry chefs, we have the stewards. So every sector, you have to know what happens in the kitchen. Is the kitchen the same as barista? So most bosses don't even differentiate between the barista sector and the kitchen sector. They think this is one. You get the point? So at the end of the day, you have to have all that knowledge about what you're going to invest in your money. And the other thing, you have to come up with what they call a doctrine and recipes of that particular place. Now, for example, I've worked with Javas. They have their culture as Javas, they have their recipes as Javas, and they have their doctrines as Javas. Javas has a policy that whenever you come to Javas, you have to learn how to do things in the Javas way. Once you leave Javas, you can do things the way you want. If you go to La Petite, I've worked with their La Patisserie, you'll find that they have their culture. The way they serve certain things is not the same way that like Javas does it. So all these, as a person who wants to invest money in the restaurant business, you have to have a system and a team that helps you come up with either that system or you build up that system as you, so that you know that here, this is our recipe, here, this is what we do, here, when someone joins, this is what they do.
To Charles, you're running 2 businesses now. You're running a cleaning business, then you're also doing it with coffee. Isaac has given us a good perspective, but I believe that different people have different perspectives. So for you, let's say when you were starting the cleaning business, I believe business is one thing. We could get into different avenues, coffee, cleaning, sports, and all these things, but at the bottom of it, business is the same. So what are some of those steps you took, you know, when you decided to open your cleaning business or your coffee business that, you know, other people can learn from?
First of all, before you start a business, to me, you have to have the love of what you're going to do. Like for my cleaning company, I started it because I had experience about it.
Yeah.
2, the location of the place. What is your target group?
Yeah.
Yes. And another thing is marketing. Yeah, you have to know when you're starting a business, do people know who you are?
Yeah.
Do people have an experience about you? Have you ever worked for someone at a certain place?
Yeah.
How was your work? Because I believe in any business, any person you get, any customer you get, you have to do the best out of you, such that that customer will attract others to join your company.
Yeah.
Yes. So I had to make sure that the people I serve, I do my best to attract others.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy because at least the people I targeted to when I was starting my car business, bringing in more and more customers to me, and I'm doing my best to provide what I can to them.
Interesting. You brought up a very important subject there. When it comes to a business, there are certain things that we need to consider. He talked about the target audience.
Yes.
Isaac, when you are starting the Brew Plus Lab,
yes,
what was your target audience? I believe you sat down and said, you know what, this is the group of people that I need to target, and this is the group of people that are maybe going to bring me the most income, or these are the group of people who are going to come for lessons and all that. So how did you come up with your target audience, and what is that target audience?
One, around me, I had what they call friends. Now, the best people who are going to market your product are your friends.
Yeah.
Now, once, like for example, Brew Plus, you train one person, they'll go and preach the gospel and say, I recommend you to join Barista.
Yeah.
Now, class attracts class.
True.
If you have a good product, it will always attract people who want it. Now, I've seen people out there going on saying, I'm selling this, I'm selling this, it's the best, advertising their product. But at the end of the day, if you use their product, it's not worth it what they are saying. Now, at the end of the day, class will always attract class. Now, my clientele is friends. Because now, every person that I'm close to and I've trained are the same people who are the ones recommending. So majorly it's friends, family, because they support my hustle. You get the point? It starts with the people around you. Because I don't know the line that is behind Charles, the people behind him, but he's my friend. I don't know the line that is behind you, but you are my friend. At some point when they talk about coffee, who comes to your mind right now?
You.
Thank you. So you get the point. Sometimes start with, don't go and say, now I've opened up, let me go to the TVs and start showing everyone that I know, I do this, I do this. Yeah, you may put in millions of money, but at the end of the day, you're ignoring the people who could preach the gospel more. I believe my friend can preach the gospel more if my work is worth it.
True.
So put emphasis on your work, upgrading your work to a certain level whereby people will look for you. You know, the poorest man on earth is not the man without money, but the man without knowledge. So at some point, knowledge, look at King Solomon. He's rich because of what? Knowledge.
True.
So at the end of the day, you need knowledge and money will find you.
True.
So a good name is also better than precious riches, not so? So which means make a good name, and because of your good name, everyone will come back to you. There's a scene that has been going on with Javas of recently. Javas is a big brand. But at the end of the day, if you have to look back on the scene, you cannot take it down easily because of something small. Now, a good name is better than precious riches. So work on your name, other things will follow you.
That's very true.
Just to add on what,
please.
Just to add on what Isaac has said, ever since I met Isaac in 2018, he has been the same person up to today. I think humbleness and putting yourself down with everyone you associate with
Yeah.
is the best way to learn a business.
Yeah.
For me, the people that I always serve in my company, I have to be always down. You have to be always down, equal to
Yeah.
anyone you find in a place. Ever since I met him, and whenever I make a contact with him, whenever I call him, he's always there.
Yeah.
He has never bragged at any one time on us that me I know a lot, I own a company, so you can't just come, you pass through this one to meet me. So he has always been there, even when I call him at night, in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
because in our industry, you keep researching and you keep contacting the people who are ahead of you,
Yeah.
because I believe he's ahead of me in the coffee industry, so I always disturb him.
I keep on disturbing him.
I always keep on disturbing him, such that I want to reach at a point where at least I'm sitting on the same table with him. Yes, because I believe even those guys who are coming down from down, meeting us, we have to be humble to them for them to learn. But
True.
if we brag, there's no way we can teach each other.
Very true. I like what you're saying there. And we're going to go into another break. What we're discussing is really interesting. I know people don't want us to even go into a break right now, but we're going to go into a break. And when we get back, there are certain issues that are basically facing the coffee industry right now that we need to talk about. You know, for example, the issue that happened with Javas and all these things. And there are things that we should talk about that will help other baristas who are coming up. We'll take a break right now. This is the Coffee Break on House of Talent Television. Welcome back to House of Talent Television. This is the Coffee Break Show with me, Emmanuel. I believe this is the most exciting show, actually the only coffee show that we have in the country currently. Yeah, and it's a very good thing, I believe, that we're doing here. Before we went for a break, we're basically discussing how you can, start up a successful coffee business. And with every business, there are challenges that come.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, the challenge that Cafe Javas was facing just a couple of days ago, and there are a lot of these other things. Isaac, what are some of these challenges you have faced, and how have you overcome them?
Now, for example, we always have challenges with customers.
Yeah.
That's why whenever I used to be in restaurants, I used to be in the barista sector, and at a point whereby I serve my own customers coffee, so that even if it means me going out to get some orders from the customer, it helps me. How? I have to understand, how does Emma take his coffee?
Yeah.
How does Charles take coffee? Maybe Charles is not a fan of strong coffee, so you have to understand how customers take their coffee.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's a customer coming and telling you, can you deal me something off the menu but I'm willing to pay?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you have to come up with something unique off the menu, but the customer is going to pay. Even if you tell them it will cost 50,000, they will say, it's fine, just do it.
Yeah.
Then break it down to the customer, tell them, according to what I'm going to do a blend of this, do this and this. Are you allergic to something?
Yeah.
Find out exactly. If the customer is allergic to something, you don't put it there when you're making.
Yeah.
You get the point? So I believe most baristas think that by being behind the bar, now they are done. You get the point?
Yeah.
But reach to that point of understanding each customer that, you see, waiters, they do mistakes also. They are humans. So at some point, a waiter will come with a confusing order. Some waiters will, you see, who are not trained very well, they will come. For example, someone will come and say, I have customers there, they are 4, they are saying they want an espresso divided into 4. And seriously, you're like, but it is impossible.
It's
Come on, how can you
impossible.
divide this into 4?
Yeah.
So at some point, it gives you a mind. Don't be harsh on that waiter, but ask the waiter, can I please meet with the customer, and explain to them.
Yeah.
You get the point. what an espresso is. It's just a shot.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that is how I used to operate in the restaurant.
Okay.
I feel me involving, apart from the production part, but also in the service part, it was the best thing that has ever happened to me. Yeah, because that's how I made friends with the customers. They're like, where's this black guy? If this black guy is not there, man, I'm not taking coffee today. You get the point? So the customer is calling you like, man, I came there, you're not there. What happened? You are the only one who knows how to do my beverage. So at the end of the day, you as like the boss of the restaurant, you have to come up with a team, give the baristas a chance to go and build recipes for your restaurant. Give them the time to do research. Most baristas, they are used to just coming to the station, going back. The only time they are meeting the boss is when there's something big that has happened. Maybe a client is saying, today this guy's coffee is not good. So you as a boss, love the baristas, be part of the team. We have seen bosses whereby he's asking, where is this going? He picks the tray, he takes, it is his business. Lead by example. Don't be in the office, say, I'm paying him. you see the point? Don't be harsh on these people who are doing production.
True.
You get the point. A barista is having a lot on the mind during production. Orders are flying in like jet fighters. So at the end of the day, you as a boss, you're also coming to stress him. So they're dealing with a lot. It's not easy to be behind there. I know what is that. The next day you're hearing a customer say, man, I didn't order for this. What is this? Take it away, pouring it on him. So these guys are dealing with a lot. So at some point, you as a boss, you have to be calm with the people in production, or else you are going to make them hate their job. Yes.
So a couple of things you've said there. One, you have to brand yourself. You know, people are looking for you. If you're not there, nothing is happening. So you have to brand yourself as a barista. Then too, you have to know how to work with people. Not only your customers, but also the people you work with, you know, in the station. And also, like you said earlier, you have to be down to earth. Even if you're a boss, you know, don't sit there in your office and, you know, throw out orders. Come down to the station and work with the people. I believe that when you work together, you can go further. Okay. Before we get into brewing a cup of coffee, I believe that for every industry, you know, especially now for coffee that is growing, okay, there are very many people that are starting to come into it. Okay. And with all these different people, there are different perspectives, different recipes when it comes to, you know, the coffee shops, and different schools with different doctrines, different ways in which they do things. And I believe that at a certain point, no one wants to support the other because everyone wants to climb where? Up to the top. So everyone is being secretive about this and that, you know, not giving out, you know, the kind of stuff that they do at their school. Maybe I'm a barista, I came up with some very good recipe, I can't tell the next person because, you know, it might hurt me. So to Charles, I believe that this is a problem that is there. Okay. So how do we deal with such a problem whereby no one wants to support the other, yet this is an industry that everyone should come together and actually be growing? How do we deal with such an issue?
First of all, I'll talk about the people who are feeling proud of themselves. Because in our industry, first of all, being down to earth, it means you have to help each other in what you're doing. In an industry that we are working from, but the challenge we are facing are the people who are lacking the love of what they are doing. Yes, you may be barista, we are working on the same station, but you are looking out for money. Me, I have passion for what I'm doing, whereby I'll always feed you information that you are not going to take inside you. Now, when I come in the following day, we always do recapping. We always do briefing on what before starting a shift. You do a briefing and you find that someone is totally green about what you are doing. What you talked about yesterday, now you lose morale on helping that person. Yes, another thing, Isaac talked about the customers. I thank this television for keeping people know about coffee. There are few televisions that give out such information about our industry. It is still low. People don't know total about coffee. You receive a customer in the restaurant, he tells you, I need you give me a coffee beverage. For example, you give me espresso. He just reads it from the what? From the menu. You do espresso, you serve espresso. He calls you because in our restaurant we always go and make a follow-up to our customers. How was the taste of the beverage I served? So you go there, the customer tells, hey, what is this? I don't know what you gave me. Binobichi. I said, that is espresso. You have to explain espresso. Then at certain point, then he'll tell you, I didn't know. Just bring me hot water and add on because I need too much of it. But this is too bitter. So we need to put up shows. I request Isaac to always make exhibitions, because by making exhibitions, a person who doesn't know any beverage, he will just know what espresso is, he will know what a cappuccino is. Different customers, they have different tastes. We talked about it. You go to a customer, you make taste, I need a cappuccino. If you don't make a follow-up, he will go. But at Java's, they are making a follow-up. Now, the problem you face, he will not come back. But when you go to him, I personally have a customer who needs a hot cappuccino. A hot cappuccino. If you don't go and get information from him, understanding the customer, you will not know what he wants, and you will go move cafe to cafe because he's always waiting for you to come and engage with him. If you don't engage with him, he doesn't know, and you just go to another cafe. The other day at Java's, another cafe. So you keep on moving till you get someone who understands his taste. Another thing is about, like the incident that happened to Java's recently. That thing can happen to anyone. It can happen to any restaurant, to any cafe in the country, because you can't tell. For example, you have come, I've made for you a milkshake, you have taken it away. How will I know what happened on the way? On the transit. In the process of taking it. Now, the more you come and you say, you put this in my, sincerely, we analyze that before the drink goes out, before the beverage goes out, we have to make sure it is clean and it is properly made. You get, so if you go out, you bring your information, the feedback that I found a rat in this, I found a cockroach in this. I cannot blame myself, the person who made it, and I'm happy if Java didn't fire the people who made that milkshake, because you cannot tell. It was in the transit. The process of taking it, you don't know. You may go out and you put the back of
You see, the challenge was, when you see that clip, the challenge was that it's very rare to find a rat in a shake, because I know how a shake is made. At some point, if it, not only a blender, even if you are using a shaker, or a shake machine, trust me, you will end up blending that rat. In fact, you are doing a rat shake. You get so you see, if they found a rat's tail, it would be understandable. But they found a whole rat. But this rat was found after the milkshake was consumed, and it touched. And you went out, you came back, so it was funny. So one thing customers are forgetting, that we know how production is done. That's why I stand with Javas. Not that because I've worked there, but I know how the production is done. Even if it had happened to any other cafe that I've been I know how things are done in the barista sector, and these guys are keen about. You see, the doctrine is like, before an order goes out,
you have to triple check
the order. You see, the order passes around in two hands. You have you who has made the order, goes to the head barista, who is always at the dispatch, and also the controllers. Now, up to the waiter. Now, 4 people, and you tell me one has not seen. There's a problem there. So me, I stand with Javas. And I would like to say that those who have been going to Javas to have their meals, please go back, have your meal. And the other thing is, like, customers, please, before you leave the restaurant, first check your product.
Yeah.
Yes, I know some mistakes happen. You find someone saying, I got hair in the food.
Yeah.
Some slight mistakes happen. But at the end of the day, this one was really, I don't stand with this lady today.
Yeah, well, it's interesting what happened, but also you can bounce back from that. Yeah, I think we've reached to that part of the show where we get to brew a cup of coffee. I believe that there are certain people who wait for this part. They get their things together and say, you know what, I'm waiting to brew. And what we're brewing today is a French press.
Yes,
we have done this before, but I always believe that it's good to learn and it's good to drink, you know, coffee from different baristas. Yes. So I'll hand it over to you guys, you know, to just take us through what we're going to make, and just like we always do, just run people through the process, yeah, from start to finish. Over to you guys.
Okay, so this is our French press. This is our gooseneck kettle. This is our kettle.
Yeah.
It's called gooseneck kettles.
Yeah.
Baristas outside there know what a gooseneck kettle is.
Yeah.
It's used for brewing coffee. Not like the other kettles you have at home. It's kind of different.
Yeah.
So we have our hot water in the flask.
Yeah.
Anyone can do this at home.
Yeah.
You don't need to just have a big machine to do it from home.
Yeah.
So I have my hot water in the flask. I open. I pour in my hot water.
Yeah.
So I put it on top. So okay, I get my coffee. Put it here.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's okay. Now I'm going to weigh my coffee.
Yeah. So if I don't have a weighing scale at home, you know,
You just use
scoops.
Yeah, this spoon you can use.
Suppose I have
two
my
or-
normal.
Okay.
my
Now, for
normal
example,
spoon.
today let me brew without a weighing scale.
Yes.
Let me put it aside.
Yeah. These
Something
things
I'm
always
going to
scare
do-
some people.
I know.
You want to make breakfast and you're
So,
looking for a weighing
I first
scale.
preheat.
Yeah.
Now, why do I preheat? The rule of brewing hot beverages: never serve a hot beverage in a cold vessel or a cold cup.
Oh.
That is why we first preheat.
Yeah.
Now you can feel the temperatures;
Yeah.
they are hot enough. So after preheating, put that back. You pour that water aside. So I have an extra cup here.
Yeah.
After, you measure your coffee. Depending, if you take strong
Strong
coffee,
coffee.
you can do 2 spoons of this.
Yeah.
Or 3,
Three.
even 4.
Yeah.
But me, I'm going to do 4.
4.
Since we are here, 3 people. Yeah. So,
You know, as we continue with the coffee, I just wanted to ask Charles, you know, there are certain myths about coffee. The last time we came to Brew Plus, you know, one of the guys in our production crew, he was chewing the coffee beans, you know, and he said when he got home, he couldn't sleep. Yeah, so to Charles, is it true that, you know, okay, not when you consume coffee, okay, there's that effect, sometimes you don't sleep, but if I chew coffee beans on a daily, does it have the same effect, okay, on me as if I've taken a cup of coffee? Would it kill that kind of sleep from me? Or it's different for different people?
And that one happens to different people.
Yeah.
Like for some, you can find someone, a barista. Let me say, I'll not talk about the people, the audience.
Yeah.
I'll talk about a barista.
Yeah.
He tells you, me, I'll take 4 shots of espresso to work out for me.
Yeah.
Now for me, when I'm at home, because I always have coffee at home.
Yeah.
So I always get 3 spoons of ground coffee, put in my cup, make a cup of coffee. I'll watch movies till Now, chewing beans also almost the same, only that the other one doesn't have water. Yes, you chew it slowly, depends on that period of time you're going to chew your beans. Because you're not going to be like you chewing beanie. You have to chew slowly, taking your time, like our old judges, the old fellows, they used to take beans slowly. You take it slowly, you chew it slowly, it will work out for you.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so
and the other thing you have to know about coffee, that coffee has caffeine. It's a natural acting stimulant, which means if you don't want to sleep, drink coffee. That's why I always ask people that, why do you drink energy drinks like let's say Rock Boom or Sting? because you see, whenever I'm weak and I feel the body is weak,
I should
just take that.
Take my sting.
Yeah.
So if it's a stimulant, I believe that even for there are people who go to the gym. So if I take coffee before I go to the gym, will it have an effect?
Yeah, because it takes you back to history. Look at the American G.I. Joes, where the history of Americano came about.
Yeah.
Look at the athletes who used to go for to do the running thing.
Yeah.
They used to drink coffee to help them boost their metabolism during that period of exercise.
Yeah.
So it's always, I advise, once you're hitting the gym, first have a cup of coffee at least 30 minutes earlier, then you go on. It will help you boost that morale.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I think
thing to talk about, I don't need.
Yeah.
To we, people who love football and who have ever played football, it is always advisable to take a cup of coffee after playing football, because it will bring back the energy that you have lost while in the field.
Yeah.
So it is a good beverage to take after and before.
Reminds me of a joke. I think your Arsenal guys need baristas. Very many. The energy they're using needs to be replaced. Yeah, but so what level are we at brewing our coffee right now?
We are done. I'm just serving the coffee.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So if you're out there, you want to know more about coffee, we always have this show every week. You can always tune into House of Talent Television. We have basically hosted very many different baristas from different walks of life who have given us their experiences, their stories, and we believe that there are still many more who will be coming through here. If you're a barista yourself and you want to come onto the show, let us know. Send us a message. We will be very happy to host you because we want to grow this industry as much as we can. We need to support each other, just like Isaac is here, is supporting his students always. Charles is also here. And we've come to that part of the show where we need to say bye to the people until next time. I know that it's not a time that any of us likes. We could sit here and talk about coffee, you know, like someone said, till the cows go home. Yeah, but Isaac, any parting words before we go?
I just want to say thank you to whoever has been supporting me, majorly my students, because they have really helped me in terms of recommending others to me. Now, I want to thank the team that is in Dubai, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, that is Musao, Abdul, that is Paul, all that, those are my students. I've trained them, they're happy, they have given me a lot of good feedbacks. And I miss those guys so much. I miss my lady baristas who are there that I trained, Jamila, that is Irene, Martha, all those, I miss them. Isaac, I miss them so much. Daniel, I wish they are home to see this.
Charles, any parting words from you?
Yeah, first of all, I will thank the House of Talent for hosting us, for putting up this show always. I'm so glad to be here. I will thank my mentor, my teacher, for allowing, because when he told me yesterday that you're going to be on the show, I said, because I've never been at one. So I'm so glad that I came and I shared my experience with the audience. I'm so glad with you guys. I'm glad with the team. So please, whoever out there, please keep trying coffee. It's a good beverage for everyone to take.
I also just want to thank you guys for coming onto the show. I know that every time we call, you guys are there to come and be with us. I just want to say thank you very much. And to the production guys, I know they also can't wait to have this cup of coffee. They are waiting to get off the production just to get this cup of coffee, and we'll be sharing that with them. But thank you very much, our viewers, for those of you who have been on the show with us today. Remember, always tune in, always watch, send us messages. If you like what you see, let us know. If you need anything from us, let us know. If you want something that we should change on the show, let us also know. We are here for you. Isaac, Charles, and all these other baristas are here to give you different information. From us, have a blessed day. Thank you for spending time with us on the coffee break on House of Talent Television. We'll take it away with our cup of coffee. Guys, thank you very much for coming on the show. Till next time, this is House of Talent Television, the Coffee Break Show.
okola erinnya kulinga nfudu ate okulyonoona munya musubi sitya kabi tusabe omutonzi atusomose awabi naffe tweyambe munno mu kabi avumaganya ekika mulya mamba ali wonna mulya mamba weerwaneko mulya mamba erinnya lyo alyonoonye yawamba avumaganya ekika mulya mamba ali wonna mulya mamba weerwaneko mulya mamba awo lwatuuka abooluganda ng'otulabira long ego echanna mukaka waliwo Land Road go bayitanga seeka yali mukwata mpola nnyo nga mu kubanjeza enjuta kukaka yes nali mpankisa uwe waka ng'omwezi gugwako nga tukyaseka eyo ewa muzeyi seeka nga tewetugambula okuba kubanja nze nenanca twacca canca kanyama nga ketulya ku kyenkya lwali lumu omu kubapangisa yasiwuka empisa olw'engeri gye yeeyisa yaduka ne sente z'obupangisa emyezi 2 teyakwatibwa kisasibwa kisa lwe lwasemba Land Road waffe otukwatibwa ekisa wowe yamamba kumaganya ekyalo abantu bakusongamu olugalo yegwe kyalo ku kyalo akumaganya ekikaatu munoonye nalo yamamba akumaganya ekyalo abantu bakusongamu olugalo yegwe kyalo ku kyalo akumaganya ekikaatu munoonye nalo bandi mukukuuta era nga gyendaga natera okutuuka nempulira awogana nenkyuka okulaba anyirira agudde mu kinnya ng'akibuuka teyakisuka mu bimpimpi takibuuka nze nasookayo okumuyamba n'akibuuka masinafulumya kigambo nansooka kumanyi yegwe Sylvester mwayimba akaseera akayimba kanyuvu bambi onyirira olabika kavu kambuuze ofaayo bwe twemanye nnyo ebikukwatako nfaayo nnyo kituufu ddala bampa akaseera naye tebyagenda bulungi olw'embeera mbamanyi abayimbi muli benzi nesonwa nafuna eddenzi erimponya abateezi akumaganya ekika mulya mamba ali wonna mulya mamba weerwaneko mulya mamba erinnya lyo alyonoonye yawamba avumaganya ekika mulya mamba ali wonna mulya mamba weerwaneko mulya mamba erinnya lyo alyonoonye yawamba okola erinnya kulinga nfudu ate okulyonoona munye musubi sikyakabi tusabe omutonzi atusomose awabi naffe tweyambe munno mu kabi abamu ensonga batukuttekana bwala okolebwako tebakulinda kwala tereera nga tonnasimbibwa njala ogwera mu kadukulu ebibbe tebyala n'abavubi bakoye envubu embi ab'obuyinza bali mu kuwonja bamulya buto emiti emito gigigumiza ekibira omulanga guve waggulu paka ku bato olwaleero mukitegeere si buli alyezize kyabbanzibe oba buli ava mu kiyaye timuyaaye si buli afande nkyali enguzi ebyo bye byange avumaganya ekika mulya mamba ali wonna mulya mamba weerwaneko mulya mamba erinnya lyo alyonoonye yawamba avumaganya ekika mulya mamba ali wonna mulya mamba weerwaneko mulya mamba erinnya lyo alyonoonye yawamba
Welcome to the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Edio Killer, and my guest this week on the program is a Ugandan musician. He's a rapper, an educator, a freelance styler, and of course, event manager, events organizer for hip hop, and a man who has been enriching lives of people who are upcoming artists in the music industry in Uganda, particularly on the hip hop genre of music. And of course, he is a man of his own weight. Sylvester Kabombo, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
How are you doing, my brother?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for the invite.
It's been forever.
Yeah, it is, you know, but finally we're here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to start from a lighter note of, you know, people knowing, you know, COVID-19 has been there, and somehow people have forgotten about who we are. Some people don't know who we are. They just see you on the street, don't know. But from a nutshell, who is Sylvester Kabombo? Are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
Sylvester is a Ugandan, you know, rap artist from the duo commonly known as Sylvester and Abrams.
Yeah.
You know, we've been around for a long time, from the early, you know, from the earlier steps of the hip hop culture when this whole thing was just beginning. You know, like from the 90s, you know, to the 2000s, doing different things behind the scenes and on the scene. Yeah, I do a lot. I do a lot. Yeah.
And from the ancestry point of view, if somebody is looking for you, are you